Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
All right, little bit of ASMR there for you. Fill in the water mug. I have a lunchtime report. I have a report. Hang on one second. Okay, we got some water. Lunch was fantastic, by the way. But it did consist of a new item today that I've never had before. I believe it was Mangy Coyote suggested that I try a peanut butter and dill pickle sandwich, which I have done for the first time. I might say I had this on freshly baked bread, and it was fantastic. Other than that, I'm not a big fan. There was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with the peanut butter and dill. The two flavors did not merge together in my mouth. It was like I was eating a pickle while eating a peanut butter sandwich, and that was the experience I had. Not a bad thing. It's not awful. I mean, I'd probably eat it again, but it didn't. It didn't just ring the palate bell, so to speak, like the spicy maple bourbon pickles do. But not bad. I appreciate the recommendation. Not bad altogether. I'd give it like 7 out of 10. I'd say try it if you're in the mood. So, let's get everything lined up here. It looks like we've already had. Oops, there I am already. We've already had Fractured 23 come into chat first of all, saying here waiting again. Well, Fractured, you know the drill. You are the proud winner of the internet. We have regifted it yet again, and this time you are the recipient. So it is now yours to do with as you please. DMB says, oh good, not it for the internet. She's been there before as well. But Fractured, apparently you have not learned your lesson yet. And once again, you were first in chat and thus have been punished by receiving the internet as a prize.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
Maybe before court begins, we could. Congratulations, Fractured. Thank you for being first in chat. As always, we gift the internet to everyone who's first. Golden Mom, welcome back. Suzanne, it looks like Fractured is it. IT, get it? It for this afternoon. Hope all goes well for you. We do as well. Samantha Terry's here. Denise, TW, everyone's giving you condolences, Fractured. It's like good luck, good riddance, a little of both. Jared T, hi, good to have you here on a globe. Lori, Katrina again with the pickles this time. T-minus 15 and counting. I was a little bit, I think I was on time starting. I'm serious. I was on time. Don't laugh at me. I was on time. Let's see. AJ is here. P. Cooper, T. Rocks. Let's see. Katrina, Lori, Victoria S. Suzanne, Michelle Stark. Back by popular demand. Lori, are you not feeling good? Hope you're feeling better. The message was retracted, so maybe you're feeling better already. See, True Celtic Mutt, good to have you here. How are things going for you up there in Virginia? Bite Me says, what did I miss? Well, if you would stay here longer every time you pop in, Bite Me, you wouldn't miss as much. But just we had a little bit of action, so to speak, in court on one particular item. A lot of action on that item. I don't know how to talk about this without saying it. Lindsay's here. Give me a P. Yeah, seriously. I'm here for the food review, says Adam. It was unique. I'll say this. I did a thick sliced. I used whole dills that I sliced thick myself and did both a thick I did a thick layer of peanut butter on warm, fresh wheat bread, which is a good mix normally, peanut butter and the wheat bread. It brings out the nuttiness flavor in the peanut butter, which I like. And then the pickles were good. The pickles were delicious. The peanut butter was delicious. The bread was delicious. But it just didn't seem like the three were like a marriage made in heaven. It was, but it was still good. I'd try it if you haven't tried it. That'd be good. Let's see. We've got to go through a roll call really quickly here because I'm way far behind. Bite Me says, yes, that was lunch break. North American Girl's taking her seat. Weather Watch is here. Mrs. R.A. is leaving, apparently. It's on that west road, the other side of the tracks, way out there by the mill.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Did Sean already?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay. Sorry, we're trying to do some legal paperwork here. Yes, that's it. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a little tiny building in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Trying to turn some paperwork to the city. Let's see. Round 2 says, "Well, watch." Yes, we're going to begin round 2. They just turned the lights on in the courtroom, so things are looking up already. Let's see. Let's try this one right there. There we go. Lights just came on. Maybe we'll see some movement soon. Well, the chat is small and reasonable. I'm curious where in the world everyone is tuning in from, says Lindsay. Let's get some answers to Lindsay's question there. I hate to see Lindsay just be left hanging, so to speak. So personally, Lindsay, I'm in Eastern North Carolina. Not far from the town of Greenville, where Mr. Beast is located, if you know Mr. Beast. About an hour. I don't know who's triggering this yet. About an hour from the ocean. Let's see. Bite Me's already challenging everyone to hit the like button again. Already, Bite Me got me up to 400 likes on the last stream, and plus a few, 400 and change. Michelle Stark did not have lunch, moved bedroom furniture instead, given this morning's testimony. Well, maybe with a little bit of cool down time, you can go ahead and have lunch now, assuming you don't lose your appetite as soon as court regains its session or begins session again. Teacher's back. Everyone be quiet. Mind the laptop. I will. Thank you, Katrina. Appreciate the reminder. Not a drama llama. Hello again. Hope this afternoon is just as spicy as this morning. I hope I don't have to sit here hovering on the change picture button. I'm hoping I don't have to do that. I will say that that Mrs. R.A. walked in right during that spicy moment earlier, and I was hovering on the button, and I took the other angle, and so I'm like, hey, by the way, you're on camera, because I'm not sure what the other camera is going to show. But let's see. Okay, Linda, Denise, Catlaw, happy afternoon, y'all. We got the y'all in there. I'm eating a banana, says Suzanne. That counts as lunch. Let's see. Always on a Go is here. Sharon McDonald, Ginger Meadows, Lori. I think we got you once already. Everybody back in your seats. Teacher's back in the room. Sorry. Order. I could recount. There's actually somebody in chat who might recount this. I heard this from them, but there was a teacher that would enter the room and would say, "Sit down, shut up, face in front of the class. First person looks like he or she's going to talk about receiving you," or something like that. And when you slow it down, it means sit down, shut up, face the front of the class. The first person that looks like he or she is going to talk will be receiving a you. But that was like the good morning that you got out of that teacher, which is always a great start of the day. Victoria, Linda, Lindsay, we haven't got to the answers to where everyone's from yet. Let's see. Olivia Rose is here. Rainbow Light says, "Love your intro." Thank you very much, Rainbow. I will change it over time, as I want to put some more actual video from trials and some police chases in there. Lynn's here. Lindsay, Suzanne. I think I got Olivia. Christy, good to have you here. Thank you very much. Let's see. Canned Laughter. Michelle Stark on a Globe. DMB. Emma He. I switch genders on you guys all the time. Hopefully that doesn't offend anybody. Sorry, DMB. Abe's been triggering the cackle. Golden Mom's here. Kay, I'd rather be day working. Canned Laughter. This roll call is getting longer and longer, which is okay. But Vixen, WV, Irene, Roxanne, Vix Logic, all fed and watered. That's good. KX Star, hooray, we're back. We're back on the record here. Just a minute. The judge is going to be back, so we've got to hurry. Let's see. Ritz. Oh, man, there's so many of you. Okay, everyone, if I've missed your name, Ashley, I missed you. Katrina, Crafty Cow, hi and bye, Mrs. R.A. in Scotland. Jessica H., Golden Mom. Do I have 2 Golden Moms in here? Or did I just look at that funny? M. Cats from Canada. Okay, here we go. We've got, this is where we're starting, and the judge is already back, so we need to go fast. Ohio, Virginia Beach, Utah for Katrina, Indianapolis from Paul, Central Penn from North American Girl. Kara is Central Ohio. Mid-Hudson Valley, New York from DMB. Jiggly says Seattle, Washington. Nice. You're on the West Coast out there. It's an early start for you if you join us first thing in the morning, because we were on 8 a.m. East Coast time. Santa Rosa, San Jacinto. I said that wrong already. California, Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Nice to have you joining us, Kevin. Sharon's from the UK. Michelle's from Oh, no, that's something else. Myrnie B, St. Louis. Not a drama llamas from Ohio. Chicago, Southwest PA. I'm just going to read where you're from. Ellen's, Kansas. We've got everybody. I think we could probably mark off most of the states here. The giant rat that makes all the rules. I'm not sure where you're from yet, but Scotland, Nova Scotia. Will we or won't we have more P-Talk? What's your vote? Unfortunately, Katrina, the way the prosecution presented their P-Talk preface, they prefaced their P-Talk, was with that basically this witness and all the other witnesses are going to testify to it. So it's probably going to be like a lot like Daryl Brooks when he asked every single witness, do you see the plaintiff in the courtroom? Well, here you're going to have the prosecution saying, "Have you seen the notebook? The notebook? Have you seen the notebook?" We're going to get that question pretty much from everybody apparently, and some people are going to say, "No, I never heard of it," and others are like, "Oh yeah, I've seen the notebook." There's Mr. Brooks. Ritz is here. Was lurking over at Grizzly Crime with the lawyer you know as a guest. The multitasking is real. Love the lawyer you know. Tragos is fantastic. He has much better hair than I do as well. Wanda, Philadelphia. Love spicy pickles. Spicy testimony, not so much. We're trying to tone it down here, but apparently that is going to be a central factor on this case. So we're going to be switching to another case here in not too much time, I think. Pickle with peanut butter on a cracker. I haven't tried cracker. I did just bread. MJ Thorough, thanks for becoming a subscriber. And Mr. Ritz or Mrs. Ritz, I don't know which one it is. Let's see. It's just R. You don't give me much to go on there. Thanks for taking a seat. JM, Jen Hoff, Linda Hill, Jimmy King. And I just scrolled to the bottom. So I caught up. Apparently I missed you. Miss Chris was late. Alicia Bennett is late. How are you going to go roll when you have 1,000K viewing? I don't know.
Squirrel.
Yeah. I'll have to think of something. Cheryl, Mary, Aaron, Ivan, Sunshine in Arizona, Jimmy King, North Carolina here. Good to have you, Jimmy. Fellow North Carolinian. Okay. All right. So court's going to be starting here in just a minute. I think we've got like 45 seconds.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
No, we don't have time. We're never going to address it, really. We just joke about it. Let me turn this off.
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat. I'm not a camel. Okay, I've got to fix the chat so that we can listen but not have the interruptions during testimony. I think that's a fair trade-off. So you've got seconds to get your last sound bites in before I turn them off. Let's see.
I'm not a camel.
There we go. I'm beating you to it. Here we go. Turn them off. Click, click, click. There's squirrel.
I'm not a cat.
Squirrel, cackle, camel, and cat. There we go. All right. I think I turned them off mostly. There might be
There's
one.
a lawsuit.
That one's still on. Okay. But we'll use it sparingly, and I'll leave that one. While we wait, could possibly go to the first video of the trial to the timestamp let's see. Lindsay, let me see if I can pull that up here on Let me switch to this guy. Let's switch to 2, which is a little different picture, and I'll try to see if I can find it here. Just 1 minute. I think you're talking about this. You're talking about my first stream of this one. I think I know what you're talking about, what you're getting at. And it was day 1, part 1, right? Okay, you want 2 hours and 35 minutes, 53 seconds. Okay, this is pretty close. Give me just a second. So we're about to watch some pre-recorded video. So give me just a second here to pull this up.
And what kind of people they are.
This is the opening statements for
The
this
type of
week.
people
Then
you
we'll
can
go
believe,
to
or the type of
evidentiary
people
phase next. It's weird to hear
that
myself.
gossip and who you can't trust when they state things. Witnesses who only come forward
See you, Michelle. Thanks for being here.
almost a
I think have a great about a
decade.
minute. Let me skip ahead. Sorry.
Jensen herself, who the evidence is going to show is an unreliable narrator.
We've got like 30 seconds. This is weird to have myself right there.
She tells people on one hand that she wants to work and her husband won't let her, and tells people on the other hand that she doesn't want to work, she doesn't want to do this, but her husband is making her.
Okay, here it comes. Laura, she's repeated this. Laura, she's
Julie Jensen, who is mentally ill
they've blocked out 5 weeks for this.
and
So we're not
suicidal
going to stay for the
based
whole
on her
thing.
own statements at the dentist's office. Julie Jensen, who refused to leave despite telling people that she was afraid for her life.
Didn't she say this already?
Julie Jensen, who had access to the family finances, who had her own car.
I don't know where it is. She's got her own house. She's got her
and
own
had a
car.
husband who worked all day.
Oh, I timed this completely wrong. Sorry. 2:35. I was dyslexic.
And Julie Jensen arrived.
There we go.
They found a distraught mess of a man in Mark Jensen.
Would you guys mind if I brought some music into the background?
His eyes were red from the tears streaming down his face. There was snot bubbling up
Okay, that's enough.
from his grief.
There's a lawsuit.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that. That was a replay. If you want to go back and watch this one, you can. That was from day 1. So if you go back to my live streams, that was day 1, part 1, and it was 2 minutes, 35 seconds in. That's when we started playing the music in the background of the opening statements, which was just hilarious. The timing worked beautifully. The music was perfect. It's weird for me to be hearing myself and trying to talk over it, and you guys probably don't know which one you're hearing, but so it was a little confusing to go back and play it again. But the music was this right here, and I could not have composed a better score for the defense's opening statement. It was hilarious. If you missed it, go back and watch that one. At least that part. It's well worth it. Still waiting for the judge to get back in the courtroom. With this music, it should summon him soon. Everyone's like, please, we need music. What does he have in his ears? Keisha, he's hard of hearing, and he has a magnification, basically. He's got it's like a portable hearing aids that he can wear while he's in court. This is good after lunch music. Unfortunately, if I start snoring, someone's going to have to call me on the burner phone because this is peaceful. Snot bubbling up was all that I wanted. Thank you so much. I'm grinning so hard, says Lindsay. Oh, that was a good moment. Yeah. RA commenting on RA. Okay, looks like we're coming back to court. Let's see. No audio yet. me go back to live on this one. Okay, sorry, Your Honor. Didn't see you come in the courtroom. Judge had a big lunch, you can tell. Okay. Oh, is chat off? Everything's turned off, huh? I'll turn it back on. Let's see. Someone mentioned earlier that you needed some sexy strip music for this case. Oh, man, Lindsay. Da-da-na-na-na. No, we probably, I can't see that happening. What animal is that on the court crest? I was looking at it on Law and Crime because they're way delayed, but I can't tell what it is. Yes, she really said that. Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go.
All rise for the jury.
Why am I getting two audios? Oh, probably because I have that one turned on. Fixed.
You can have a seat. We're back on the record. Mark Jensen, the appearances are the same. The jury's back in the courtroom. Thank you for coming back on time, ladies and gentlemen.
Man.
Who is the state's next witness?
Sharon, that's
the
awful.
state calls Rosemary McGinnis, number 44.
Thank you.
McGinnis. I was going to make a joke about a drink, but let's see. Someone mentioned earlier the music. I probably won't play. I don't know what music I would play there. What if your sketches during lunch? He's probably got a notebook full of sketches. Judge had a Whataburger. Hot dogs and pickles. Song Bits, good to have you here. Welcome back. Let's see. He sounds like the cat judge. We have a Miller as well, so we've got McGinnis and Miller. Now, if we have somebody named Bud.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're swearing me. I'm sorry.
You solemnly swear the testimony is meant to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Get as close as you can to the little microphone and spell your first and last name for the reporter.
It's
My
a
first
badger.
name is Rosemary, Rosemary. Middle name Elizabeth, Elizabeth. Last name McInnes, MAC, capital INNES, like Sam.
Okay, not the way I was going to
Are
spell
you
it.
going to do the questioning, Ms. McNeil?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Ms. McGinnis, I want you to think back to the summer of 1998. During that time period, did you join the Stiefel Nicholas office in Racine?
Yes, in July of '98.
And was that a new office that was opening?
They had opened it a couple of months prior to my starting there. I thought maybe in June that they opened it up.
And you started working there in July
Yes,
of 1998.
of 1998,
And do you recall when in July or just July?
22nd.
July 22nd. And where had you worked before?
I worked at Piper Jaffray, another brokerage firm that was downtown Milwaukee.
All right, and so now you're working in the Racine office of Stiefel Nicholas?
Yes, I went from Piper Jaffray to Stiefel Nicholas with a broker who moved to that office, and I went with him as his assistant.
And who was that broker?
Daniel Exner.
Now, how big was the Stiefel Nicholas office at the time that you would have moved there?
It was a very small office, about 4 or 5 brokers, 3 support staff, sales assistant, and cashier. So there were 3 females, and the rest were the brokers, all male.
And so these other women, did they have the same position as you did?
Meredith Perez was hired as the cashier and receptionist. Meredith Schultz was hired as a sales assistant, so she would work with the brokers. And I was a sales assistant to Daniel Exner.
So 3 women and 2 Merediths? Now, did they go by nicknames?
Yes, they did. Meredith Perez, we called Midge,
Yes, we will.
M-I-D-G-E. And Meredith Schultz went by Mary, and I think she spelled it M-E-R-R-I.
So
How long did you end up working at this Stiefel Nicholas office in Racine?
Until about March of 2005, and that's when I transferred to the Brookfield office of Stiefel.
Now, when you started working there in
This
1998,
wasn't
was
the
Mark
girlfriend.
Jensen also working there?
Yes, he was a branch manager.
And I want you to particularly direct your attention back to the time period when you were working with Mark Jensen in this office. Did you ever, during that time period, receive any harassing phone calls?
No,
She's like,
not at all.
No.
And did Mark
Did you see
Jensen
that
ever
huge-
complain of
Yes,
any
yes, yes, no.
harassing phone calls that he was receiving?
I did not hear him complain about any.
And did you and the other women in the office, was it your job to open the mail?
Actually, Midge, Meredith Perez, opened the mail. She was in a little area similar to that, so she was kind of caged off. And she would open the mail,
So they
And
keep the midget in
receiving
the cage
checks,
and make her open the mail. That's what I've
hand
heard so far.
deliver the whatever they was supposed to go to the brokers, if it was a copy of a letter that the client sent or something on that order. That was Midge, Meredith Perez's job.
So the brokers did not open their own mail.
Definitely not.
Did you ever hear of any mail coming
We're
in
in
that was
Wisconsin.
pornographic in nature?
I did not hear of anything like that.
And did you ever hear Mark Jensen complain that he was getting any mail that was pornographic in nature?
I did not hear that at all.
So this is a sales assistant in the brokerage office where Mark worked.
Now, did you ever hear Mark Jensen complain about any pornographic material being left on his vehicle?
No, I did not hear anything like that either.
Do you know where he would park his vehicle?
He kind of parked his vehicle towards the back of the parking lot, not right up front. I think he was afraid that maybe somebody had hit it or something, because most of the people parked closer to the building, and he would park his car further back in the parking lot.
Based upon where
He's
his
like,
office was,
I don't
would
recall
he
that.
be able to see the parking lot?
I believe he would have been able to.
So through whatever window was in his office?
Yes, he would sit forward to his computer, but, you know, he could swing around, so I'm sure he wasn't looking out the window at all times. And it was a second floor of a bank building, so there was the drive-through there, but because of the area that he parked in towards the southeast corner, I believe he should have been able to see his vehicle.
And that's based on also where you knew he parked his vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to direct your attention to December 3rd of 1998. Was that a memorable day for the office?
Yes, it was.
And is that because that's the day Julie Jensen died?
Yes, it is.
Now, on that day, did
I'm sorry.
Mark...
Did you say December 3rd or 4th? I just didn't hear you.
I thought
Sorry.
I said 3rd.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're referring
Third,
to
yes, we're
December-
talking about the third.
Okay. And so on that day, did Mark Jensen come into work?
No.
Now, given the size of the office, is that something you would have noticed, whether he was at work that day?
There were only two entrances. One was the front entrance, which I sat right across from. So within 10, 15 feet, he'd have to walk through the glass doors there.
Not sure
That's
why I
also the
paused
door
there.
that the clients came through. Or he could have come up the hallway through the lunch area. And there again, because of the size of the office, he'd have to walk up that hallway and into his office.
She's stuck on a frowny face for some reason. Let's try something else here. Sorry.
Come up the hallway through the lunch
right, I'm told,
No.
first of all, we are back on the record.
It's not your turn, Judge Darrow. It's not your turn.
Into his office.
All right, so based upon where you would typically be seated during the day, would you have seen him if he came
Their
in
feet just
either
dropped.
of those entrances?
Yes.
And just generally him being around the office or in his own office, would you have seen him?
Correct.
Now, regarding that particular time period of December 3rd, 1998, approximately a week later, on December 11th of 1998, was the office having a Christmas party?
Yes, we were.
Was that Christmas party still held?
Yes, it was.
And was there some consideration or thought among yourself or other people in the office about canceling the Christmas party?
We had all asked Mark if we wanted to cancel it because we were all fine. Something like that happens in your family. The last thing you really want to do is go and celebrate.
Okay.
And what was his response to that?
He doesn't want to ruin anybody else's time.
And so was the Christmas party held?
Yes, it was.
And did he attend the Christmas party?
Yes, he did.
And did you make any observations about his demeanor during the Christmas party?
He seemed to be enjoying himself, having cocktails, eating food, talking to everyone.
There's a lawsuit.
And did you observe him with anybody else during this Christmas party?
One of Meredith Schultz came by herself, and she was actually sitting next to Mark. I was a couple of seats to the left. And I guess I would say she was flirting with him. He didn't really flirt back, but he didn't tell her to stop it either. In fact, I'd even asked one of the brokers, Dan Exner, if he couldn't go and talk to Mark about it because it was making people feel uncomfortable, how that interaction was going.
And based upon your observations, did you believe that he was showing any signs of mourning at this Christmas party?
I didn't really see any myself, no.
Now, in this office, was there a person working there named Dave Nearing?
There was a person, yes, he was one of the brokers, David Nearing, yes.
And did Dave Nearing ever say anything to you about finding a notebook that had drawings in it belonging to Mark Jensen?
There's the
I
notebook.
don't know if Dave Nearing actually told me or if he told one of the other brokers about it or if we were in a conversation and he brought it up.
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
So the cross-examination suggested that there was recent fabrication about this point from Mr. Nearing, and so this prior consistent statement would be admissible.
Judge, I think we should have a,
What's that?
I think we should have a sidebar.
Guess what? You get an early break, folks.
Guess what, jury? You're here for a whole of what? 10 minutes, and out you go. No, it's not even that. Holy cow. We got a sidebar, which we get to hear because the jury's not going to be there. There may be some yelling here. Let's see if they get ramped up on this back and forth. There's definitely an argument, a point of contention between the two. We've already brought up the notebook. Yes, the notebook has come up again, the sketchbook, which apparently the whole office knew about, but nobody really talked about.
Thank you.
All right, the jury is outside the courtroom. Ms. McNeil, give me your reasoning again why you should be allowed to get into this.
So when Dave Nearing testified about having found this notebook, he was cross-examined based on having not stated that before in a written statement to Ratsburg in his prior testimony. And so a prior consistent statement is admissible if it is to rebut the recent fabrication. So the implication of cross-examination is you're just coming up with this, and this witness can say, no, Dave Nearing talked about it years ago.
All right, go ahead. Who's going to argue?
I will, Judge, just because Attorney Jamboy's told me about this notebook this morning. It's the first time the defense had ever received any discovery about some notebook that was recovered from
That's bad.
Mr. Jensen's office sometime in 1990 to 1991. There was no specific questions to Mr. Nearing about whether he told Ms. McGinnis, and she just testified she wasn't sure if he was the one that told her or somebody else did. So there's potentially 2 layers of hearsay there. That's my second concern. Third, we were never notified that this witness had mentioned this at all. In fact, she testified previously and gave a statement to the detective, and it's in none of those places. So if there's specific notes that she gave a statement to someone before today that Mr. Nearing told her that, the defense has a right to that discovery.
Well, what I did during the lunch hour, I reread State versus Jensen, 331 Wisconsin 2nd, 440. That was the Court of Appeals decision.
That's the one that had all the words in it, 115
That
times.
was decided December 29, 2010. I'm not going to get into the issue of confrontation and the letter and all that other issues that were decided later by the Supreme Court of Wisconsin and the United States Supreme Court. But this case that I just cited talked about the penis issue pretty extensively. And I'm shocked how many times they mentioned the word penis. And what did this case say? Now, this is guidance for me, and I like it because it makes my rulings a little easier. So what does it say about this evidence that we are trying to keep out?
It's in book form.
It's admissible as part of the panorama of evidence surrounding the offense. And it talks about numerous witnesses. It talks about the state's theory that before Mr. Jensen, this is the Court of Appeals talking, not me. Before Jensen murdered his wife, Jensen engaged in a campaign of emotional torture by repeatedly confronting Julie with pornographic photos. The evidence involved the relationship between the principal actors, Jensen and Julie, and traveled directly to the state's theory as to why Jensen murdered Julie. Then it goes on to say, it also goes to the issue of the computer, because there's an issue of pornography on the computer, and that Mr. Jensen regularly surfed the computer regarding the issue of pornography. So the computer is also an issue in this case. And then it also, we're going to have other witnesses that are going to testify. The state talked about Kelly Jensen, and I believe her last name is different now. But it also talks about Kelly Jensen's testimony. And it goes on to say, it tended to show that Jensen had a long-standing fascination or obsession with penises. Given this, was likely the one responsible for the penis-focused photos stored on the home and office computer and left around the Jensen home to emotionally torture Julie. Each category of evidence Jensen complains upon was properly admitted. So, it's coming in.
I'm not arguing as to relevancy.
It's coming in.
No, I get that.
You argued this morning that it was relevant, so don't tell me now it's not relevant.
This time I'm not
I'll
arguing
get the
relevancy.
transcript.
I'm not arguing relevancy.
You argued that this morning, so
did.
we're done. Bring the
Judge,
jury
I'm
back.
arguing hearsay.
You argued a different objection this morning, and now you're saying I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying, Judge, I agree with you as to this morning. I'm not
Can't
arguing,
have every argument you want and get the last word in.
Judge, I'm not arguing as to relevancy from Ms. McGinnis. I'm arguing that it's hearsay. She just testified that she wasn't sure if she heard it from Mr. Nearing or heard it from someone else. That's hearsay. And I don't have a right to confront that individual who may have said that to her because that person hasn't been called. That's the objection. I didn't object as to relevancy.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Bring in the jury, and we'll let the state ask their question on the issue of, what was your statement again before I lost my train of thought here?
So what I was asking is whether Ms. McGinnis had heard from Dave Naring before about this notebook.
That question will be allowed, thank you. I don't know where the bailiffs are.
They went to get the jury, Your Honor.
Apparently, everyone gets to be asked this question. Over the objections of the defense, we're all going to be asked about the book. What do you know about the book? How many pages have you seen? Who told you about it? Where did you see it? Hopefully not any more in-depth questions. But it's all coming in, apparently. Oh, my goodness. Wonder what he's thinking right now. She was right. She was not objecting to relevancy. If the judge keeps acting like that, there'll be grounds for appeal. Yeah, it did seem like he went off pretty quickly on her.
All rise for the jury.
Maybe he's running for Supreme Court as well. I say book like Amber Heard does. The book. Do I say book funny?
All right, have a seat. We're going to continue. The objection was overruled. You can go and ask the questions.
So did Dave Naring ever tell you anything about finding a notebook with penis drawings in it?
I'm going to repeat what I said. It probably was when we were in a group. I didn't have a relationship with Dave Naring that would have him come and talk to me about penises. So I believe it was, we're standing in the office talking about this stuff, kind of confused at why somebody would even leave it out.
All right, and you've described the context for us now, so what did Mr. Naring say about what he had found?
He had actually, I know he had found one when Mark worked at a prior firm.
One, as if there were more than one.
And that's the one that I remember Dave talking about. And it was like notepads that people would have with their name on the top. And there were drawings of different sizes and shapes and kind of page after page after page.
And this conversation you were involved in, was that years ago?
Yes, he was arrested in 2002 or 2003.
Yeah, so do you recall that time period?
Yes.
This is a better audio
and
feed.
Shortly thereafter, did a detective come to the Racine branch?
Yes, they did.
And did that detective take various things for evidence from the Racine branch?
Yes,
he did?
Yes.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. So, Ms. McInnes, did I say your name right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't know where you were.
Oh, sorry, I'm hiding over here in the corner.
Because I saw her talking before. Okay, go ahead.
I'm by the creek.
So, I understand you joined the Stifel group in July of 1998.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, you were with, I think you said Piper Jaffray?
Piper Jaffray, yes.
Okay. Now, you never actually worked at Baird with Mr. Jensen?
No, I did not work at Baird.
Never worked at Baird at all?
At all.
Okay. So you didn't meet Mr. Jensen until July 22nd of 1998?
Correct.
And I understand you and Mr. Jensen weren't friends outside of work?
No.
You didn't hang out socially?
Well, I live in Brookfield, and they're down there, so in Racine or Kenosha area, no, I did not hang out with Mark Jensen.
You didn't have personal conversations with him?
No. First of all, I'd only been there. I started in July, so I don't know if people really go into personal things like the first few months that you're there. You're trying to understand what your job duties are, how to work the computers, and so no, I did not have any real personal conversations.
So you didn't have conversations with Mr. Jensen about his wife being depressed?
No, I never heard that. I know that Julie brought in some food once. Well, Julie would make it. Mark would bring in some food once in a while and say, oh, Julie made this. Julie would come in with the two boys, the two sons once in a while. I didn't see that she was depressed when those things were happening.
Okay. And what year would that have been?
1998? Yeah, 1998, 99.
Now,
98, I should say, not 99.
Hey, Babes Cakes, thanks
Now,
for being here.
You
Hope you
testified
get feeling
about
better.
Mark's office at Stifel. You said he had a window in his office?
Yes, a big window in the back of him.
And he would park in such a way that he would see his vehicle.
Not if he's sitting looking at his computer, which
Right.
which nobody sits and looks at your computer all day long. You talk on the phone, you kind of turn around, and at that point, he would have been able to see it, not when he's watching his computer.
So he parked in a way that he could turn around and see his car.
I believe so, yes.
All right. And you said that was not where most people parked.
No, he parked further back in the southeast corner, and a lot of the other people would park on the, like, south side. They parked on the west side. There was a parking lot.
Okay. Now, you were first spoken to about this case in 2002. That's right?
Yes.
And that was after Mr. Jensen had been charged in this case?
Yes. We heard about it on the phone. One of the clients called up and said something that he had heard that he was arrested.
Had the client seen the book?
When you spoke with Detective Ratsberg, so that was about 4 years after Ms. Jensen's death?
Yes.
So you didn't speak with the police right after Ms. Jensen's death?
No.
You didn't speak with them after the Christmas party?
No.
And as far as work attendance, if a broker was not in the office, you didn't, like, make notes about that, right?
No, but if he's calling in, it's going to stick in your mind more. No, because they would go see clients and things like that. But if you're calling up, kind of giving little reports as the day goes on, that's more memorable.
And did you speak with Mark Jensen on December 3rd?
No, I did not, but Midge, Meredith Perez, was the one that would answer the phone.
Okay.
Mark would tell her a few things and then transfer him to, like, Dave Nearing or something.
Okay. So, on December 3rd, did you find out about Julie Jensen's death?
Yes, towards the afternoon.
You found out about it that afternoon?
Yes. Mark called up and said that she had passed.
Okay. And did you take that phone call?
No, Midge did.
So Midge answered the majority of the calls, fair to say?
Yes, she did. Yes, she was the receptionist and cashier.
And Midge, again, was the one who opened the mail?
Correct.
That wasn't your duty?
Apparently Midge did all the work in the office.
If she wasn't there, if the other Mary wasn't there, then obviously somebody has to do it. It would be my responsibility, one of the three of us. But
If nobody else did the
was
work,
first
I
in
had
line.
to.
Mary was second in line, and I was third.
She was probably had the most seniority as well.
So, on December 3rd, did you go to lunch?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I don't even remember where I went to lunch yesterday, but to me, lunch isn't as important as somebody passing away. So it's not memorable enough to care about.
Right, but you may have left the office during the lunch hour?
Yes, I would have, but the other two ladies were there then.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure if I left because a lot of times I didn't go out for lunch.
So you have no recollection of that?
Nope.
And fair to say, typically you would go to lunch around 11:30 and 12:30?
Somewhere in there.
And you take an hour?
Yeah, half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Wasn't
And-
set in stone.
Okay. Fair to say people would kind of come and go as time allowed in that office?
Not the ladies. The guys, yes. The brokers, yes, they could come and go as they pleased. They normally told us where they were going, so if clients called in, that we could figure out how long they'd be gone.
Okay.
But the ladies kind of had a set schedule.
So if Mr. Jensen were to go talk to a client outside of the office, that would not be strange?
Not at all.
In fact, you kind of expected the brokers to do that in your firm?
Yes, provide service for their clients, correct.
Was Mr. Jensen a person that would cry at the office often?
I'm objecting to relevance crying often at the office.
Let's just, go ahead. Do you know the answer, ma'am?
I've never seen him cry.
All right. Stands. Thank you. Let's go.
So she answered the question, so the objection stands. That's funny. Oh, my goodness.
Now, you testified today
no crying
about
allowed.
a Mr. Nearing talking to you about sketches. Is that correct?
Talking to the office, not directly to me, but yes, talking to the office about these sketches, yes.
The office.
And was that was after Mr. Jensen was charged?
I don't remember if it was before or after. Probably after, yes.
And you're aware that, strike that.
She's objecting more to her comments than.
And you said that it was maybe
opposing
David,
counsel.
maybe somebody else that.
No, it was Dave, because he worked with Mark at Baird. He is the one that saw that notebook or that notepad with all of the sketches on it.
I believe your testimony, though, was that it may have been David who told you, or it may have been someone else that David told. Is that correct?
David didn't tell me directly. I believe he was talking in the office, and we were all there. The office is small enough that you can hear it. We were probably standing around a desk, kind of shocked.
Was Mr. Nearing one to gossip in the office?
Dave liked to talk.
Yes. Yes is the correct answer. How many minutes after he saw the notebook did everyone else know about the
And
notebook?
actually, Dave liked to talk, and he knew Mark very well.
So he liked to talk about Mark.
Because they used to go out as couples all the time.
Okay.
Couples
So
or a couple?
He probably knew more about Mark than any of us.
Okay. And you also testified about a Christmas party?
Yes.
And at this Christmas party, Mr. Jensen was seen with Meredith Schultz?
I don't call it seen with.
Well, you saw him with her, talking with her.
Well, yes, it depends on how you say with. He didn't come with her. I don't know if he left with her because I left beforehand. But yes, they were sitting next to each other, engaging in conversation, talking, laughing, yes.
And you said that she was flirting with him, but he really didn't flirt back?
I don't remember him flirting back, no.
Okay.
It was
I
one-way
don't
flirting.
remember him saying, excuse me, but this isn't the proper thing to do. But I don't believe he was flirting back.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
That was the least
I
effective
have no
line of
further
questioning
questions.
I've
Thank
ever
you.
heard.
You can leave. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving right along. Let's see where we're going now. She didn't share his
Calls
interest.
Kelly Brooks, formerly Kelly Labonte, and that is number 39.
37.
Kelly Brooks.
39.
39. Thank you.
Kelly Brooks. Who is Kelly Brooks? Is this the mistress? He wears headphones because he's hard of hearing, and that's a court audio system that just cranks up the sound into his ears. That's all. It's nothing. It's just weird headphones. It's amplifies the everything. Let's see. Does she look at him? No, she does not. She walks far all the way around the other side to get as far away from him as possible.
Just remain standing, and then I'm going to swear you in, okay?
Wait, I have to unload all my stuff.
Put up your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony is made to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Get as close as you can to the microphone, and spell your first and last name for the reporter, okay?
Kelly Jensen, or Brooks, Kelly
Yeah.
Brooks.
Thank you. Who's going to do the question?
Man, it keeps freezing here. I don't know why that is freezing.
Is your
Let's
maiden
go
name
to-
Labonte?
Close as you can to the microphone.
And Ms. Brooks, at some point,
Brooks, K-E-L-L-Y.
and do you see
this
Mark
feed
Jensen in the
keeps
courtroom
freezing.
today?
Yes.
And can you just point to him and describe something that he's wearing?
He's over there in a suit
Creepy
and tie.
grin. Oh,
All right, there's only one individual over there in a suit and tie. That's the individual right there?
Yes.
All right, it's been identified. Thank you.
So, Ms. Brooks, I want you to think back to approximately 1997. During that time period, did you join the firm Stiefel Nicholas?
he did marry her after.
Yes.
And do you know
After
when
his wife Julie
about
died.
you started working for that firm?
I
I believe it was in February.
I don't want to see that.
So you think February of 97?
Yes.
And where were you working? Like where physically were you?
I was in St. Louis at the corporate office.
And so this firm, Stiefel Nicholas, it is headquartered in St. Louis?
Yes.
And that is where you were working?
Yes.
And what was your job position?
I didn't want to see that.
I was administrative assistant to the retail brokerage.
She's divorced
president.
him since then. I think after
Okay,
his
and-
conviction, she divorced him.
Sorry.
And so someone who worked at the headquarters of the firm.
Yeah.
And was he like a boss to other brokers at the firm?
Yeah. Yeah. All the brokers reported to him.
And what was this person's name?
Scott McCaig.
And so during this time period, was Stiefel Nicholas, was it expanding, opening offices?
Yes, they were. We had a new president and CEO of the entire company come in, and he was big on expanding it.
And given your job with Scott McKay, did you help with the opening of new offices?
I did.
And so did you end up coming to Wisconsin several times to open offices?
Yes.
Got to realize he hasn't seen her in probably 10,
when
12 years.
Do you recall first meeting the defendant, Mark Jensen?
I believe I originally met him around April of '98.
And do you recall the context, how you met him?
He was one of the brokers that was being recruited to open an office up in the Racine, Wisconsin area.
So where were you when you met him? Do you recall?
I was in the corporate headquarters. They flew him out to St. Louis to meet with people there.
And Mr. Jensen was involved in a new office being opened, correct?
That is correct.
And were you one of the people who helped open that office?
Yes.
Where was that office?
It was in Racine.
Do you recall when it opened?
I want to say a couple months later, May, June, somewhere in there of '98.
Okay, so we're talking May or June of 1998 when the Racine office opened?
Somewhere around there, yes.
And so did you actually come to Wisconsin?
Yes.
And during that time period, did you meet Mark Jensen again?
Yes.
After that time period, let's say over the summer of 1998, did you ever communicate with Mark Jensen in any way?
Yes.
Yes, I believe she raised
how would
his
you communicate with
sons.
There would be phone
Julie's
calls
sons.
back and forth for various work things, and
After he went to
I
prison.
believe I went out and he opened the office. I think there were 3 of them that came over then, and then there was another 1, maybe 2 that came over later, and I went out and helped bring those people on as well.
Now, over the course of this interaction with the defendant, did you learn that he was married?
Yes.
And did you learn that he had children?
Yes.
And as far as you were aware, he was still living in the same household with his wife and children?
Yes.
Did you ever meet Julie Jensen before her death?
No.
So during this time period, the summer of 1998, what was your relationship status?
I was engaged.
It's big
And
news,
who
Tracy.
was the person you
Thanks
were
for the
engaged
update.
to?
Mark Greeman.
Mark Agreeman, you said?
Mark Greeman, yes.
Was that a fairly long-term relationship?
Yes, we had been seeing each other on and off for several years.
And you didn't have any children, though?
No.
So as you continued communicating with the defendant, did you develop a romantic relationship with him?
Yes.
Do you recall the first time that you and the defendant had sexual relations of any sort?
It would have been, I believe, around September.
September of 1998?
Yes.
And do you recall where?
I think St. Louis.
Now, leading up to that point, had you been flirtatious with him?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 21.
I'll just remind you that this lady's not on trial. She may have made some poor decisions, but she doesn't get to tell her whole story here. So be gentle.
So looking at that exhibit, can you tell us what it is?
It looks like email messages between me and Mark.
Now, at some point during the course of this case,
Charlie.
Did you learn that
gentle for
police
you?
had obtained email messages between yourself and the defendant?
I'm sorry, can you state the first part?
At some point during the course of this case, did you learn that police had obtained email messages between yourself and the defendant?
Yes.
And so State's Exhibit 21, what you're looking at here, would those be the email messages that you learned were obtained by the police?
Yes.
So fair to say it's not every email you ever sent to the defendant during this time period?
That is correct.
Yes, wife was still alive. They began the affair, I think, September, she said.
State's Exhibit 21 is the physical exhibit.
Couple months
I would
before
like
she
to
died.
display on the screen State's Exhibit 20, and this would be the file labeled emails.
Yeah, there's 0% chance she wants to be here today, and because of Mark, her personal life is now public.
Now, Ms. Brooks, we're obviously talking about something that is quite a long time ago, 1998.
Okay, I might need to.
So, I'm going to ask you some questions about these email messages during that time period.
Okay.
Now,
Oh,
can
my
you see
goodness.
the screen and see whether that matches the exhibit that is in front of you?
Okay, so it's going to get creepy here.
But it looks similar.
So if I zoom in a bit and you look at the top of your exhibit.
Yes.
And there's
There's
other screens.
Oh,
up there.
okay. All right. Perfect.
But for your purposes, you can look at the paper exhibit in
Okay.
front of you. All right, so I'm going to go down. Do you see how these emails are in a thread?
Yes.
And so is it actually the oldest email that is at the bottom of the page?
Right. The oldest is at the bottom?
So when we're talking about the thread, the
Yes.
one that is the older is at the bottom, and then you work your way
They
up
all have
Right.
they all have
to get to the
timestamps.
replies and,
Right.
and so forth. Okay.
They're going to be
All right,
reading
so
for
now
you, Matt.
looking
Don't worry,
at
you're going to hear these.
the first page of the exhibit in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
do you see an email between yourself and the defendant from September 3rd of 1998 at the time on your email says 6:58 a.m.?
Yes.
See that? Now, typically, would you be emailing so early?
No.
So do you believe that this time period is not correct?
That is correct. Yes. It would be wrong.
All right, and so this email that we're looking at from you to the defendant, it says, "Thanks again for yesterday. What a wonderful idea you had and a wonderful time we had." Do you have any idea what you were referring to?
Not specifically, no.
Okay, so would this refer to a time when the defendant was in St. Louis with you?
Yes.
And then
Well, yeah. Yes.
It's
do you recall
getting
anything else
spicier,
about that now
sorry.
that you've looked at it?
No.
All right, so now the following line begins with the letters IDLY.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
What do those letters stand for?
I do love you.
All right, so then that line would be, I do love you even more now, but no surprise, you are too wonderful for words.
Yes.
And then XO, talk to you soon, correct?
Yes.
What does XO stand for?
Hug and kiss.
So by this time, you are at least talking flirtatiously with the
Correct,
defendant?
yes.
And you make some reference to having seen him.
Yes.
All right. Now, just moving up the page, do we see his reply to you Thursday, September 3rd, 1998, 10:04 a.m.?
Yes.
All right. And so in that reply, he says, thank you. Wish I hadn't been so tired, so little sleep the previous nights. Was great just hanging out. Definitely lucky. Got a few looks and question about being in St. Louis. Cute. All covered. Then Ron called. It was all about Columbus. Just funny the way it flowed. Hey, came in this morning and my blinds were up, and I do like those knobs. IDLY, cheers. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So he uses the same phrase with you, I do love you?
Yes.
And then moving up
Lindsay on the stand right now is
to the next
his
email. This is your reply
his
to
ex-wife,
him.
the
And again,
mistress
so your
during
reply
his
says
marriage to
8:09 a.m.
Julie.
But that time doesn't make sense with his 10:04 a.m. email,
Right.
correct?
Right.
And so do you believe your replies were earlier than when you were actually replying?
I think the timestamp states earlier.
The timestamp is
Yeah.
earlier?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Her computer time was set.
And
wrong.
then going up to the top, if we look at this email from the defendant to you, this is 2:44 p.m. the same day. What does he say there in that email?
Wouldn't mind knobs on my blinds, would prefer cheeks on my desk. Cheers. Did you smile?
So he's flirting with you.
Yes.
And then at the very top, your reply. What do you say in your reply?
If you continue to be a good boy, maybe you'll get what you wish for. I would enjoy participating. Yes, I smiled. I always smile when talking with you.
Okay, so you're receptive to the flirting.
Yes.
All right, so moving on to the next page of the document that you have in front of you. And again, to get to the beginning of the email chain, we have to actually go pretty far down. So if you look at your exhibit at page 3 at the bottom,
it might get pretty descriptive here.
for this particular email chain from September 4th of 1998, it then begins at the bottom of page 3, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it starts with questions about lunch plans?
Right.
All right, so now moving up. You see this email in the middle of the page from September 4th, 1998, 11:15 a.m.?
Yes.
The defendant says to you, know what I'd rather eat, and
Yes.
then there's certain symbols?
Yes.
Okay, what is he saying?
He's making a sexual connotation.
And that's oral sex?
Yes.
When you initially had your first sexual relations with the defendant, was it oral sex?
Yes.
And was it one or both of you who performed oral sex?
Both.
All right, and then moving up through the pages. Sometimes when you were communicating with the defendant, would you complain to each other about your current
Not good.
significant others?
Yes.
So he would complain to you about his wife?
Yes.
And would you complain to him about your fiance?
Yes.
And so if you look at the bottom of page 2, this email from September 4th at 11:34 a.m., it reads, "Yep, lover's nuts thing going on here. My own fault. Turned it down last night after I came in because I was pissed. She knew it. Dutiful thing. Right now, dutiful would do. Nah, cheers." And then it continues, "Thinking about my desk right now. Now that's a way to enjoy lunch." Is that accurate?
Yes.
And so is he complaining about his wife in that? When he calls her dutiful thing?
Yes.
And then looking now, this would be page 2, and this is the email from September 4th at 11:49 a.m. And it reads, "Got pissed last night because of her attitude in spa. She knew I was when I got out. I sat out on the deck for hours. When I came in finally, I just reversed the don't touch me thing." So is that again another complaint about his wife?
Yes.
Yeah, nowadays these emails would be on HR's
Would he
desks in a
complain to you
heartbeat.
about sexual issues with his wife?
Yes.
All right, now at the very top here, your final reply in this chain, what do you say here at the top of page 2?
Did we miss the window of opportunity? I meant with our significant others, not each other.
Okay, so at that point, your perception was that the window of opportunity was completely open with the defendant.
I'm not sure what I meant there, quite honestly, because it says I meant with our significant others, not each other. Oh, okay, yes. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, that there was a window of opportunity for us, yes.
And maybe you missed it with the people that you were currently with.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like I'm saying, yes.
Now if you just turn quickly to page 4 and take a look at what that email is. Is this email just essentially about stocks?
Yes.
Now, turning to page 5, does that begin another email thread?
Yes.
And so if we want to get to the beginning of that thread, is that at the bottom of page 6?
Yes.
So way off to the side here. This is an email from you, also on September 4th, to the defendant. And you're asking him, what kind of music do you prefer to listen to when being romantic? Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you and he have a few emails exchanged back and forth on that topic. He replies to you about what music.
Yes.
And then you tell him, work with me here.
Yes.
All right. And then he suggests that thing you do or reggae.
Yes.
Okay. Is that thing you do an actual song?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Bob Marley, right?
All right, and so then along that same chain, if you go to page 5 and go to the email from September 4th of 1998 at 4:08 p.m., skipping past the beginning part of that email, does he say, "I'm going to have to go home and try to fix my high-maintenance woman. If I stopped and got Titanic on the way home, wonder if I could get her to sit next to me on the couch. Low expectations." Is that correct?
Yes.
And so along the same lines, he's once again complaining about his wife to you?
Yes.
All right. And then your response above, "You are such an incredible man, I want one."
Yes.
Is that correct? And then he responds, "Thanks, you can have me."
Yes.
You call him a tease?
Yes.
He responds, "Who's teasing?"
Yes.
And then your response is, "I could get used to having you around permanently." Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And so this is all on September 4th of 98?
Yes.
Now directing your attention, if you go to page 8, all right, so looking at this email, 9/4/98, 3:56 p.m., you're asking whether Midge gave him the message that you had called. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was Midge a secretary there in Racine?
Yes. Yes.
So not only were you emailing with the defendant, you would also call him frequently?
Yes.
And did you have a cell phone at that time?
I did.
How old
And
is
would
he
you
right
call
now?
him
Is
on
he
your cell phone?
45?
Yes.
Would you call on work phones?
Yes.
So, for instance, this would have been a call to his work.
Yes.
But you wouldn't call him at home, would you?
No.
Well, this is a way to get what he did out in front of the court, in front of the jury.
Now,
where
at some point,
they won't
did these
necessarily
calls
have the
become
chance to do that with
expensive?
him. So
The cell phone calls did. Yes.
And so did he give you any money for that?
He did send me money to pay the bill once or twice.
So he's 63, so 39 back then.
Okay,
thanks,
so
Wade,
now
for it.
moving down to page 9. This is, do you see the very first email in this thread from September 9th of 1998 at 1:51 p.m.?
Yes.
And then you talk about, in this email to the defendant, getting a massage tomorrow and then you the next day.
Yes.
So do you believe that there was some kind of meetup with the defendant sometime in the area of September 11th of 1998?
Yes.
Now, do you recall where that happened?
No. But I think it might have been in St. Louis.
Okay, so if we remember the earliest emails, it sounds like there was some kind of meetup in St. Louis early in September.
Yeah. I think that first one was he came into town for the day and we went to the zoo and just hung out. And then I'm not sure what this one was. Maybe a baseball game or something.
Do you remember around that time period going to a baseball game with the defendant?
Yes.
And was it in St. Louis?
Yes.
All right. And then the defendant, in his follow-up email to you, September 9th, 1998, his reply is, "You may sleep through the weekend," and then that face again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And is that the one you testified to related to oral sex?
Yes.
Okay, so
And then your reply to him, "You may be right. You ready for this?"
Yes.
Okay. So again, you're receptive to this?
Yes.
Okay, so directing your attention to page 10.
I think they got married shortly after Julie died. And then they got divorced, I think, when he went to prison, or shortly thereafter. I have to look at the timeline. It might have been a little bit off. Should have watched Alien instead.
All right, looking towards the middle of that page, an email from you to the defendant, September 15th of 1998, 7:05 a.m. And again, when you look at that time, do you think that's too early for you to be on your work email?
Yes.
So during that time period, did you only access your email from the office?
Yes.
And do you have any idea how the defendant accessed his email?
He would either from work or from home.
Okay. So did you have knowledge that he could access his work email from home?
I don't know if he could or not. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. So you know, for you personally, though, you would have been at work to
I'm
send
not
these
trying
emails?
to blush. It's the lights, I promise.
Now, in this particular email, looking through it, are you complaining about your significant other to the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking about trying to go in the hot tub and the man was too tired?
Yes.
Now, looking above that, is his reply to you, that's September 15th, 1998 at 9:39 a.m.? Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, can you read these middle lines here, beginning with the line that begins with drugs, and then ending before the next paragraph?
Drugs were still in effect last night, but got some wood, was thinking about someone else, got carried away, banged into the end of things, so to speak. She don't like that, and that was the end of that. Ha. Fun. Aside from that, evening was lousy too, hovering, nothing to say.
Now, in those lines, what is he describing?
Having sex with his wife.
And he indicates he was thinking about someone else?
Yes.
So that would be you?
Yes.
And then indicating that she didn't like...
Sounds working here, Cat Law.
Meaning his wife did not like what had happened?
Correct.
And then can you read the last two lines from him?
Of that same
Yes,
thing.
just the two below lines.
Feeling a lot more stable today, feeling kind of bad about some of the conversation yesterday. Wish I knew how much of the mood was chemicals and how much you. Cheers, idly.
Okay, so I do love you.
Yes.
Now, what are you talking about with him in terms of drugs?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And so was he on some kind of drugs?
Not that I know of.
But he does talk about the drugs still in effect last night?
Yeah,
And you asked him about it?
I did.
And then he follows that up with those lines about feeling...
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. How are you? The drugs wearing off yet? Yeah. Yeah, I guess he was taking something, but I don't remember what it was.
So your understanding is these references are to him regarding drugs and being in effect and feeling stable?
I believe so, yeah.
And then his response has to do with how much of the mood was chemicals and how much you.
Yeah.
So he appears to be referring to a good mood being either chemicals or you.
Right.
I get this feeling, Ivan, that she might know something about those drugs or something. Maybe it protects her as well by not saying something.
All right. So that prior email being references to his wife, your response, you see at the very top there, 9:15:98, 9:46 a.m. You refer to
Sorry to hear that, Linda. I hope
she
hope the
being
friend
so damn prudish
makes
about
recovery.
it. So would that be a reference to his wife?
Yes.
And again, did he describe to you ways in which he thought his wife was prudish towards him?
Yes.
And did he ever get specific about that?
Probably no more than what was in that email.
And then you close that email with the XO IDLY always?
Yes.
Now, turning to the next page, page 11. Now, this email that you're looking at on page 11, if you peruse that quickly, that's not so much about your relationship with the defendant, correct?
That is correct.
You're actually forwarding an email from somebody else to you.
Yes.
And was that person somehow connected to where you're from in Albuquerque?
Yes.
So now moving on to page 12. And in this next email, which is from 9/29/98, you at the very beginning of this email from you to Mark, you make some reference to this Albuquerque friend.
Yes.
Now, can you read those first two lines to us?
So am I just being an oversensitive chick with regard to Mark's comment last night? Be honest, I can take it in spite of what my friend in Albuquerque thinks.
Okay. And so when you're talking about Mark's comment last night, you're actually talking about your fiance, Mark Greeman, right?
Yes. Actually, he was my husband by then.
Okay. So when did you marry Mark Greeman?
I believe September 19th of 98.
Of 98?
Yes.
And so during this time period, why did you decide to marry Mark Greeman?
It had been an on-again, off-again thing for so long, and I guess, didn't have the courage to end it before moving forward with it.
Was the wedding set?
Yeah.
And where did you go to get married to him?
We went to Tahoe via San Francisco.
And so it's true that in the midst of this month where you marry Mark Greeman, you are actively having an affair with the defendant.
Yes.
All right, so now turning to page 13. Now, does this email begin with some jokes that you had sent to the defendant?
Yes.
So it's one of those joke emails?
Yes.
All right, and his response to that appears to be, and looking at kind of the middle of the page, Wednesday, September 30th, 1998, 2:05 p.m. His response to the joke email appears to be some type of joke, correct?
Yes.
And he makes a reference to Boy Scout.
Yes.
What was he referring to?
His penis.
So he called his penis Boy Scout?
Yes.
That's a new one.
And then your response to him, cute, not liking him very much right now, are you?
Yes.
And then he responds to you, yes, I am. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Like you. Cheers.
Yes. Yes.
So what was he saying with the yes, I am, no, I'm not? Do you know what he was referring to?
I think it was like a conversation between him and his penis. He says, yes, I am, and it says, no, I'm not, that kind of thing. Just kind of a back and forth there.
And then it says, like you?
I don't know.
Were you somewhat non-committal during this time?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Okay, because we're talking about the time period right after you got married and got back from the honeymoon.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so if we're trying to picture the timing, it's September 19th of 1998 that you got married?
Yes.
And you said you went out to Tahoe via California?
Yes.
And so you would have been gone out of the area of St. Louis for about how long, do you
It
think?
was about 8 to 10 days.
Okay, so maybe by sometime for sure before September 30th, you're back in St. Louis.
Yes.
Did the defendant know that you went to get married?
Yes.
Okay, did that prevent him from pursuing you?
No.
Now moving to page 15.
Okay, we're waiting for this feed. Paused.
Now, in terms of the timing
There's a lawsuit.
of these emails, so you see there's kind of like a big long email in the middle of the page there.
Mm-hmm.
And is that
She did
from the
testify at her
defendant to you?
his first trial,
Yes.
too.
And then your response above that?
Yes.
So the timing of these emails, October 4th of 1998, and then your reply October 5th of 1998, what had happened right before these emails were sent? And I'm referring to early October of 98.
The opening of the Appleton office and the meeting that we had.
Okay, so beginning of October 1998, was there a new office opening for Stiefel Nicholas?
Yes, it was the Appleton office.
And were you involved in going to Appleton to help open?
Yes.
And was the defendant involved also in opening that office?
Yes, he was.
So this was a weekend?
Yes, over a weekend.
So a weekend when you and the defendant would be at a hotel with each other and seeing each other in person?
Yes.
Did that weekend, did you have sexual relations with the defendant?
Yes.
And so that particular weekend, did it go beyond oral?
Yes.
Just sexual intercourse?
Yes.
And so if we're seeing emails from after that time period, you can see references to that weekend? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Like, for instance, near the top of the defendant's email, it talks about up in Appleton.
Mm-hmm.
And he's referring to someone named Ed.
Yes.
All right, so I'm not going to have you read this whole chunk of text, but just going towards the bottom. If you read the last two lines of the big paragraph, the one that starts with, now that I can, do you see that?
Yes.
Can you read that out loud?
Now that I can think and I'm not totally distracted by this cute creature that was there and had this ability to make everything else disappear.
And then how does he end this long email?
Idly and a true technical cheers to you, hoping you're okay with the tech thing.
Now, do you recall what he's talking about with the tech thing?
I think that was referring to technically having sex.
Would you agree that you and the defendant were somewhat distracted with each other during this office opening?
Yes.
Okay, and then you send him a response. This is October 5th of 1998 at 3:28 p.m. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you're receptive to what he's talking about with the technical thing?
Yes.
And then you end with IDLY to you too?
Yes.
All right, so now I'd like to direct your attention. Do you see on page 16 how there's a long email string that starts?
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to direct your attention then to where that string would actually begin. So that would be page 18.
Okay.
I think they're going to attack her character. The fact that she was married, that she knew he was married. She was a homewrecker type thing.
All right, so this email string that we're talking about, it's referring to October 7th of 1998, correct?
Maybe
Yes.
even that she started it. It was with the flirting first.
And then it just starts with good morning from you to the defendant?
Yes.
Now, at the very top of that page 18, you talk about having a bad night.
Yes.
Oh, man. AJ, this is a bad one. Boy Scout joke. Good timing.
And then his
Awful
response
joke.
to that,
I like it.
if you look on page 17 at the bottom of that page, he talks about giving you a call later or a call soon.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you would call each other throughout the day, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and when you follow up with the ensuing emails, you're talking about your bad night. If you look at that page 17, you're talking about drinking, going out drinking.
Yes.
All right, so now, do you see the email that is from October 7th of 1998? That's 2:46 p.m. It's from the defendant to you, and it starts with must be slipping.
Yes.
Okay, and then he refers to you getting married. See what getting married did to you?
Yes.
Okay, and now there's a few different letters that he ends the email with. We've already talked about the IDLY, but what's IWY?
I want you.
Yes, she's one that was reportedly flirting with him where he was not flirting back. Well, and now at this point in the story, they're both married to someone else, but still having an affair. Ed, this doesn't tie him to the murder. This is going to go towards motive for why he wanted to get rid of his wife.
Now, if you look at how these emails continue going to page 18 and moving towards the top of page 18, is it continuing with the back and forth flirtatious emails?
On page 18 or 17?
So I believe this is page 18. Just want to make sure.
Ashley, I'm nervous. I'm super nervous. Most of the words can't get me in trouble.
Oh, I'm sorry, page 16.
Okay. Yes.
But it's the pictures they put up.
So you're
that really make me
continuing with
worried.
the flirtatious emails with him?
Yes.
Okay. Now, early on in this email string, there was some reference to you writing a letter to him.
Yeah.
Did you sometimes write letters to him?
Yes.
And would you send those letters to his work or to his home?
Probably to his work.
Do you have any specific memory of this letter from the time period of October 7th of 1998?
No.
And would he ever write you letters or no?
I don't recall. Maybe.
The last one didn't get demonetized.
All right, so now I'd like
think
to
we're
direct
okay.
your attention. There's another email string that begins on page 20.
I think as far as divorce, he didn't want the alimony or the separation. He didn't want to lose half of what he had. I want yogurt, apparently. IWY.
Page 20, where the email string begins. And particularly, I want you to look at the one from Thursday, October 8th of 1998, 9:46 a.m.
Okay.
From the defendant to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this email, do you see he first of all asks you, so are you a roller ball or a pen kind of person? Do you see
Yes.
that? And then he asks you, what is your favorite color fleece?
Yes.
And then he talks about fishing trips, Missouri, and fly fishing in Colorado. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was he a person who went fishing or did fishing?
Yes.
And fly fishing?
Yes.
Would he travel to do that?
I believe so. I believe he had.
All right. And then your response to that, you talk about, you're responding to the color of fleece, and you talk about a deep green. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then apparently he talked about some interest in learning how to fly a plane.
Yes.
Do you recall that from the prior email?
Yeah.
And that would help get to fishing spots?
Yes.
Yeah, she,
All right,
as
so
much as
now
a lot
we're
of
on
people
page
aren't happy with the
19,
decisions
the
she's
very
made,
bottom of page 19.
she seems credible so far.
And once again, this is an email from the defendant to you, October 8th of 1998, 10:44 a.m. Do you see the defendant making a reference to driving 10 hours to Big Cedar?
Yes.
What is he talking about?
Big Cedar Lodge in Missouri. It's a lodge on a lake.
And so essentially in this email, he's talking about flying would be so much faster.
Yes.
And then he ends with, I really want you. Correct?
Yes.
I do love you. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Murray, I do pretty long streams, and if there's words or something in there, it's a lot of work to edit those out. It's easier for me just to delete the stream. We try not to have those words
All right.
in the first place.
Now, following up on this email string, do you see the email above that from you to the defendant?
Yes.
October 8th, 1998 at 8:51 a.m.?
Yes.
And so now, if we go back to the time issue, you see your response is at 8:51 a.m., and his email was from 10:44 a.m.?
Yes.
So the timing is not correct here.
Again, yes.
All right. Now, in this email, you're talking about someone named Debbie being pregnant again?
Yes.
Is that correct? And was that someone that your husband at this time? Who was Debbie to him?
That's his ex-wife.
Okay. And so is this something that was concerning to you, that his ex was pregnant again?
Probably just that my current husband made something out of it.
And then the email above that from the defendant to you. October 8th, 1998, 12:12 p.m. And is this the defendant essentially responding to your complaints about your husband?
Yes.
And he calls himself, if we go to the very first line of his response, at the end he says, I'm the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Now, you see in this email he uses the word funky. Was that a word that he would use, a word that you would use?
I think we both used it.
So it wouldn't have been weird for you to use it?
I think I used it because he used it. I think he introduced the word, and then we used it as a term that we both understood what it meant. just the weirdness of a situation.
So you kind of adopted it because he used it?
I think so.
All right, so now
Thanks, Ivan.
another email thread. Do you see the next email thread beginning on page 21?
I've hit it big in the liquor store, apparently. Thanks, Ivan.
And so if we go to the beginning of that email thread, it's actually page 23. Is that correct?
Yes.
Here we go. This is a long thread. Lots of email.
Okay, so you have a pretty short email that you sent to him at the bottom of that page. This is October 8th of 1998, 4:21 p.m. I'm out of here. Talk to you later. I do love you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then there's a response from him to you Thursday, October 8th of 1998. The time on his email is 11:17 p.m. Do you see
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And so in this email, he says, just sitting here drinking wine, thinking about this time last week. No issues, just great. Missing something. I miss you, a new one. I miss you, I want you, I do love you. Thinking about the last line in your note, feelings the same. If you can't remember, ask. Kind of wondering how to put the crap in the office to bed. There's enough stuff being bounced around that should be able to find out where it actually originates. Suspect it's Mary. She's out tomorrow, so can talk to Rose, Midge, and Barry. If that proves to be the case, she'll have a bad day Monday. This is all tough enough without this stuff. Patience, time, and let it play out. I do love you. Was that accurate?
Yes.
All right, so he's sending an email where he's referring to sitting here drinking wine. So that's not something he would do at work, correct?
Right. Yes, I would not think so.
And he's talking about thinking about this time last week. And so this would be an email from October 8th. And so last week would be October 1st or 2nd-ish, correct?
Yes.
And so that's when you were together in Appleton, right?
Yes.
Now, does this email also refer to there being some office gossip?
Yes.
And is that something you were aware of, that within his office there was gossip about you two?
Yes.
So she's been through this once before. She testified in the first trial as well.
All right. So then looking at, now we're on the next page, or really the prior page, page 22 in the middle here. Is this your response to him? You're responding on October 9th at 6:35 a.m., correct?
Yes.
And again, you don't think that time is right because you don't think you would have been in work that early?
Right.
Just fix your dang clock on your computer already. Man. It's not that hard to adjust the time.
Now, I'm not going to ask you to read this whole email, but do you make a reference in it to, do you see the line that says, couldn't you just see me pregnant and sleeping on the couch? What a friendly person I would be for all those months? Not.
Yes, I see that.
Okay. So are you talking about the possibility of a relationship with him where you had a child?
I think my husband at the time and I were talking about getting pregnant.
Did she talk to her husband about who she was going to get pregnant with?
And then if we go to his
Whose baby it would
response,
be.
October 9th, 1998, 9:36 a.m. Again, I'm not going to ask you to read the whole thing out loud, but do you see it's
Adam,
the fourth line down?
irony is not lost
where
on me.
he
That is great.
references Barry's comment about you being in the knee hole of my desk. Do you see that?
Yes.
So that's more of the office gossip about you two?
Yes.
All right. And then again, without having to read the whole email, he appears to respond to your pregnancy comment. Towards the bottom here, he says, pregnant on the couch, pretty picture.
Yes.
And then he ends with, I missed you last night, and sure it will be the same tonight, and then obsession.
Yes.
I don't know exactly when she divorced him. I think it was right around the time he got convicted.
All right, so the email right above that. This is from Friday, October 9th, 1998, 8:14 a.m. You talk about learning anything with your charts last night. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then you have some more complaints about your husband. Is
Yes.
that accurate?
Don't make me come over there and fix it myself.
All right, and so then if you go to the prior page, this would be the end of this email thread. That takes up page 21. Do you see that?
Apparently, the whole office knew what was going on.
All right, and so
in Mark's office.
is it fair to say that these ending emails here, you continue your flirtatious emailing?
Yes.
So, for instance, the email from you on Friday, October 9th, 1998 at 11:29 a.m.
Hang on a second.
You make a reference to 3,000 lashes.
Yes.
And again, that's part of the flirtation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then as part of that, you make a reference in the October 9th, 1998 email, should I come over? Yeah, right. Do you see that? This is from 11:34 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you can't come over because you're in St. Louis, right?
That's correct.
There's a lawsuit.
Kenosha.
The commands are working.
Missouri.
Right.
Lawsuit's the only audio command that works right now. I've turned the rest of them off just during testimony, but they should be working.
All right. And so when you're on that topic, his email from Friday, October 9th, 1998, 1:57 p.m., he says, time, patience, and figure it out, wait to cool, and I think I could warm you up.
Yes.
All right. Now, if you look at page 24, the email on that page, is that just like a quick checking in email?
Yes.
And I know the date's kind of hard to see. Is that October 11th,
Yes.
98?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's then go to page 25.
Apparently, he didn't have much work to do. He was the boss, and he came and went as he pleased. I don't know about the boys. We should hear from them later in the trial. We're expected to hear from at least one of the sons. And she did raise his sons that he had with Julie, the two sons.
So do you
after they
recognize
divorced.
this email from Friday, October 9th, 1998, 8:14 a.m.?
Yes.
This is the same email that we had previously talked about. So did you learn anything with your charts last night, correct?
Yes.
Coyote, it was
But
December
he has a new
3rd,
reply
1998
above
that she
that.
died.
Do you see that?
Yes.
And this is from October 11th of 1998 at 11:51
correct.
p.m.
Yes.
I think it will be the defense that calls the son.
All right. And so now, looking at the very end of this email, it says, okay, 12, time to hit the rack, almost literally, sweet dreams. So it appears that his time, 11:51 p.m., that would be accurate because he's making a reference to 12 and time to go to sleep.
Yes.
All right, so looking at the very next page, that's a quick email from you to him what time should I return home? Do you see that?
Yes.
And it appears like this is some kind of email draft, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it does. Compose message.
It's like a screenshot of her writing
All right,
it.
so now I want to go to the next string of emails. So if you go to page...
Rhonda, that's true.
Go to
That's
page
what happened.
28.
She raised his two boys.
Does that begin the next string of emails?
Yes.
Let's take a break.
Why didn't the grandparents? I don't know. Judge just says, let's take a break. I'm not a camel, right? You take a shower, take a break, something. Oh, man. You've got to realize the boys were very young when the mom died. They were just little
after
boys.
3, okay?
Your Honor, can we open a window in this?
We can open one.
Can we open a window? It must stink in there. Is somebody like all sweaty? Can somebody crack a window? Maybe set up a fan? It's a very sad story. Another ASMR moment during the break, just as a warning. I'm going to refill the mug here. I'm not sure if their AC is turned off or what's going on, but they're it's too hot in there. Judge reminds me of the old man in Monopoly, silent but deadly. Let's see. You need a book? You got it? Okay, cool. Got one of my kids climbing all over around the lights trying to get a book that's in a bookcase next to me. And he successfully did it without showing up on camera. Did I get a haircut? Yes, I got all of them cut, as a matter of fact, Jenny. Thanks for noticing. You need a sponsor for your ASMR breaks? Hey, I do. And I've got a suggestion. If you guys know, I drink Deer Park water. It's not the most expensive stuff, but it is spring water. It's not filtered water. It's spring water, and depending on where you get it, it's really, really good. This is proudly sourced in South Carolina, from Swift Springs, Chesterfield County. So I did reach out to Deer Park, but apparently their form only allows you to suggest where you need to send water. Like, I want a donation of water, and I can get the water. I'd just like them to sponsor the show, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah, it got a little hot in there, a little stuffy. Have a refreshing beverage. Water is my drink of choice. Let's see. AJ, I'm not sure if I can highlight that joke. I mean, it's a Boy Scout joke, but I'll just leave it up there in chat. Since his sons are witnesses and can't be in the courtroom, I wonder if they've ever seen all the proof of how sleazy their dad is. Okay, Joan, here's what we don't know. Generally, when they invoke this rule that witnesses are not allowed to be in the courtroom, they can't hear anyone else's testimony, generally they make an exception for family members of the victim. So the sons are family members of the victim. So it's possible that had they wanted it, that they could have been present in the courtroom if they wanted to. Now, maybe they can be. Maybe they choose not to be. But I haven't seen them in the courtroom. And right now, I mean, there's nobody sitting behind Mark, or at least for a lot of this morning, there was nobody sitting behind him. It's all tap water. I'm saying it's nothing special, but it's just a little better tasting to me than some of the other tap water that's offered. His sons stand by him. I always drink spring water. My mom drinks like that Fiji water that's like, it's like liquid gold. I need a PR person. Cash out, are you volunteering? Is that what you do? I have a management company for my TikTok account, but they only are interested in me playing video games, which I'm not doing very much of. I'm drinking the same water as the squirrels. Yes, I am. Aaron says, the only water I drink is the water I put in my coffee. There was a point in my life when somebody would offer me water, I'd say I'm thirsty, not dirty. But now I'm trying to be more conscious of my intake. So water it is. Sweat has jurisdiction in that court. Crown maple and cranberry juice is your drink, says Tar Healer. Tar Healer, what's the fish in your picture? Looks like you're beach fishing. So would that be red? Is that a red drum? I don't see a spot. I don't know. It's a small picture, but I'd love to hear what the fish is. Motocross racing in Chesterfield, South Carolina. Wish there were places to ride motocross here, or not really motocross, more of like a. I want trail riding is what I want. I think. Of course, I'll have to get a motorcycle first, but there's no way the sons don't know. Let's see. I drink a lot of water too. I have a Culligan water dispenser. It gets replaced twice a month, and that's a lot of water for one person. Is my camera out of focus? Let's see. Hang on one second. Let me bring it in focus here for you. How's that? Is that better? That should be a really sharp focus. 7, let me know. I had it in autofocus mode, and it was focusing on the front end of my microphone. So I put it back to manual, so now it's locked in on me. Okay, actually, I don't get this joke. Why did the gamer refuse to join the Boy Scouts? He hates camping. Okay, AJ, I just got it. I had to think, but I had to get it. In Call of Duty, I'll explain it to you. It won't be funny, but I'll explain it to you. In Call of Duty, if you're playing like a first-person shooter game, a camper is somebody that sits there and waits and hides in a closet and then shoots you when you walk by. So he hates camping. So a gamer refuses to go Boy Scouts because the Boy Scouts go camping a lot. There it was. Not very funny, but now you understand. Beer is made with water, says Mac. Spring water can make a huge difference when making coffee because the calcium and magnesium, is that? Need an iced coffee emoji. High Speed Drifter says, your channel is ironically very addictive. High Speed Drifter, thank you for that. There's a good group. You find your way here, and you find out you're amongst friends, and it's hard to leave. That's what it is. Someone said squirrel. I've turned squirrel off just for a minute. Purified water and drinking water is tap water. Running Grey Wolf, I worked as a temporary in a drinking water bottling facility. And so I can agree with this. We would go fill up our truck with, whatever hydrant would allow us to fill up our truck, and then we would bottle our mountain spring water from that. I've seen the games they play. If you're Canadian, we'll be taxed per sip soon. Is that just for like plastic drinking bottles, or what's the per sip? Is water at a premium up there? I thought you guys had a lot of water. Mint now. Let's see. Do you fish? Not as much as I should, Abe. I like fishing. I saw you get 2 phones at the beach. Do they ever work? High Speed Drifter, I got one phone that I dug up that was underwater. It was an iPhone. I think it was a 12 Pro I think it was a 12 Pro. And not only did it work, but it still had a battery charge. I turned it on. The owners had already marked it as lost. And so it basically did a quick wipe. It was locked, and they wiped it remotely when I tried to connect it. But we were able to get it back to them using some sleuthing and their picture on the internet, the screensaver that was on the phone. But That was pretty fun. So yeah, occasionally they work. Most of the time I put my shovel right in the middle of the glass and just shatter it, just because you're not expecting a target that's that big. I'm looking for a coin and I just hit it with my shovel. So I've broken most of the phones I found. Let's see, back to crochet. I'm listening and watching. Good, Jenny. Good to have you here. I go to Edisto Island twice a year to chase bull reds. Okay, there's a competition, isn't there? Tar Healer. There's some crazy competitions for some of those. Let's see. I find bottled water salty. I drink only water and use Brit water filter pitcher, a Brita, and did away with all plastic. Much easier too. We've got a couple of those water filters. We drink so much water, we go through a lot of water filters. I drink salamander water, better than deer. Don't trust anyone who doesn't fish. There's some great advice. Camping also happens in games like WoW when someone camps your body so you can't res. Yes, DMB, you're right. And that's just mean, because when you first resurrect, you're not at full strength, and they can kill you again. Assuming you're on what's called a PvP, player versus player world, which is the only reason why they camp your body in the first place. Just add a pinch of salt to your coffee grounds, clears up water problems. Comments are really blurry on my TV. Hey, Joan, try to do a refresh. We've had a couple just brief snags on the video on this side. So if you refresh your screen, or you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, click on that little gear box and move the resolution up higher to a higher setting. It may fix it. Sunshine Sunflowers definitely camps. Says nothing wrong with that. Let's see, True Dat. I can't get over how many different jobs you've done. A little bit. I've barely scratched the surface. I've barely scratched the surface. I did that. I told you I once buried an oil spill for a job. Like, they hired me to go work at a job. They said I'd be digging a hole. This was a temporary job. I was just working there 1 or 2 days. I show up and they have me standing in like flood diesel fuel, like in a puddle on the ground, digging a hole and scooping it into a backhoe that we then they buried somewhere else on the property before an EPA inspection. So as soon as I was done, after working there all day with no protective gear, I might add, standing in diesel fuel, massive headache. I called the EPA and said, hey, you might want to check this spot in the back. And they got a huge fine. Plus, they went around the back of the agency that had brought me in and tried to pay me a lot of money so they could get around to paying them. My well water tastes really good, and I don't have a water bill either. That's awesome. Used to have access to good well water. I don't have any now. In Escape from Tarkov, camping is just called sniping. Jim Bob, that game intrigues me. I like that type of game. I watch a few people who play that online. I've never played it myself, but I do like that. I think they just had a reset too. So, let's see. Dasani water tastes like water gun water, which has a distinctly different taste. You can smell the chlorine in your tap water. Oh man. Hello, Kitty. Good to have you here. Is the focus working now? Do I look crisp and clear? You got their volume back. Good to hear, Cat Law. I amaze you with every story. I've had a lot of jobs. Some of them were just a day long, but the Alex Murdoch house on Edisto Island is up for sale. Is it to pay for court fees? My phone's apparently not as cool as yours. This is all I could find as far as emojis go. Just keeping an eye on the courtroom. There's still no action yet. My mom works at a power plant, and her job is to ensure spills don't happen, or if they do, are cleaned up properly. Diesel is the worst. Bless you for doing that, especially phoning the EPA. Well, it was the frustrating part was they gave us no protective gear whatsoever, and I was the only one who knew better. The other people were desperately needed the work, and I did it just because it was fun to have a different job every day. So I worked with the temporary agency. But let's see. Glad the EPA got them. They did. It was a massive fine. I won't tell you the company name because they are the only company that does what they do, and they ship all over the United States. And every single one of you has seen one of their products. So, he winked at his attorney when they stood up for break, and I shuddered. He winked at her? Ah. Is she the one that said I need a break and a shower? Talking about gaming, what is it? Does it make you want to get back in? Yes, bite me, it does. But I don't have time for that. I can't do that. I won't. Let's put it that way. There's some games I can't play. Like I can get on my phone and play a little bit of a quick little game, and I'll on TikTok to keep my account open because I have special access on TikTok because I've got management company, everything. To keep that account open, I will play at least an hour a month of a game online on TikTok. But that's about it. I was hooked on WoW for many years, had to give it up. That's what I did as well, Tar Healer. I'm now more curious who the company is now that you said you won't tell us. Sorry, I can't. They still to this day don't know it was me, and they might not be very happy with me. Introduced my 9-year-old to Halo this weekend. He loves it. Can't stop playing Disc Golf Valley. What's the device you play that on? Looks like Court's coming back in here. Little hot mic, just briefly. Okay. The top guilds kill the heroic bosses before Christmas. Took the 2 weeks. Man. Yeah, I was never in one of those top guilds. I was at one point the top jewel crafter on my world, and I made a lot of money. I ground that profession, and I was so far ahead of everybody else that everybody had to come to me. And my mailbox would just be full of people sending me stuff to process.
We're back on the record. Mark D. Jensen, the appearances are the same. Jury's back in the courtroom. The witness is still under oath. You can continue, Ms. McNeil.
So directing your attention to page 28 in front of you, the bottom of that page, the beginning of this email string, do you see that first email from Mark Jensen? And then it's Sunday, October 11th, 1998 at 11:10 p.m.?
Yes.
Now that email
I wonder if we're going to go all the way through
from address,
the
do you
date
see it's
that she died.
mjensen@execpc.com?
Yes.
And then in terms of who it's sent to, there's a Naring D and Exner D, Peterson B, and then Jensen M at Stiefel.com. So Jensen M at Stiefel.com, is that his work email address?
Yes.
And so the email address above, that's his home or personal email address?
Yes.
And so this article, this email, October 11th, 1998 at 11:10 p.m., it references some article from thestreet.com.
That sounds like an awful job, Michelle. That's awesome.
And so this appears to be a stock-related email and article.
Yes.
And then he also sends this email to you at your work email address, right above that.
Yes.
And then you comment on Dan's email address looking like ex-nerd.
Cheryl,
Yes.
we just heard that right around lunchtime. That's amazing news. We'll have to look into that.
But then you say that you replied back to your home address. Do you see that?
Yes.
I wonder if they
So
found
that would be the mjensen at
her remains.
execpc.
Yes.
Now, looking at, so we're going from page 28 to page 27. Did these emails on page 27 between yourself and the defendant, does that continue the flirtatious emails?
Yes.
So like, for instance, in the middle, October 12th, 1998, 12:51 p.m., he says all three apply. I miss you, I want you, I do love you.
Yes.
That's dedication, Lindsay.
And so then, if we go to the email from the defendant to you on October 12th, 1998 at 1 p.m.,
Okay, they have not
he's
found her
sending you
remains.
the hugs and kisses signs, right?
Yes.
And then he refers to, that's what I meant about the computer. Would be nice, but it sucks at the same time, being there and not being there. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and is that a reference to both of you being physically apart?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'd like you to go to the next email string, and that begins on page 31.
So many emails. We're still in October. They just started their physical relationship in September, right?
All right, so this email from yourself to the defendant, October 12th, 1998, 11:56 a.m. Subject, Chicago. Oakbrook will move on 10/23 and open for business 10/26. Okay, so what is that referring to?
It looks like another branch that's opening.
All right, and was that, at the time, was that good news for you and the defendant?
Yes.
Because you'd be able to meet up that weekend?
Correct. Yes.
So the weekend that is upcoming then for the meetup is 10/23, and then the Monday is 10/26, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And then his response, he says, right next door, somebody's taking care of us.
Yes.
So you see it continues us, ideas, yeah, a lot of ideas.
Yes.
Could they just cut to the good part they want to get in? Is that too much to ask?
So then looking at page 30, does this continue with the bantering emails back and forth?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, he's referring to 3,000 lashes. Think about it.
Yes.
And then you reply, you're an evil man, Jensen, to the core. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then he replies with
something.
Okay, 6,000. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then you talk about what you're going to wear right above that.
Yes.
All right, so now looking at page 32, this next email string.
Next. Oh, man. Yes, these are all state witnesses. She's testifying for the state. I don't think she wants to be there, but she's compelled.
So the subject of these emails involves Patagonia. Do you see that?
Yes.
And what is Patagonia?
It's a
outdoor
clothing store.
All right, so was he offering to buy you something from Patagonia?
It looked like he was looking at the stuff and interested in getting something potentially, yes.
So, for instance, this email chain starts off with him sending an email to you. This is October 12th, 1998, 12:57 p.m.
See you at me.
He sends
Thanks
an
for being
email
here.
to you involving the Patagonia online store.
Yes.
And then your response, do you look at women's clothing all the time or just on occasion? You see that?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, you're joking with him?
Yes.
All right, and so just looking at the other emails on that page, he's clearly looking at this online store for you?
Yes.
It's actually just an outdoor clothing store. It would be like a Cabela's or an REI. I guess it'd be closer, REI. So you'd buy, jackets and climbing gear.
Now the next
and
email string, that
camping gear,
begins on
things like that.
page 37.
Eileen, he had a very interesting response when she first walked out into the courtroom. Very different than all the other witnesses.
So some ex named Tracy was emailing you. Do you see that?
Yes.
At the beginning of that string? And then were you complaining about it to the defendant?
Yeah,
Yes.
LL Bean, Columbia, those are better examples than REI, I guess.
And so that's how the topic of this email string started?
Yes.
CG.
All right, so now I want
Racine
you
is
to
the name
look
of
on page
the location they
36.
were at, the store.
All right, so looking at your email in the middle-ish of that page, October 12th, 1998, 10:55 a.m., you email the defendant, okay, bored with talking about Psycho Man, on to bigger and better things, how's yours? Okay, do you know what you were referring to in that email?
It was just a reference to changing the subject, and how's yours was a way to say how's your day. There's some sexual innuendo there, but it was kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah, Mark picked up on that innuendo.
And then right above that, you see his response, my what?
Mm-hmm.
And then right above that, you respond to him, just testing to see what your answer would be. Nothing in particular, but my mind can go just about anywhere and usually does. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then his response to you, October 12th, 1998, 1:15 p.m. Wasn't sure if you meant that or my psycho woman. It's lonely and neglected. Nothing you can't fix. So is he continuing on with the sexual innuendo?
Yes.
I think they're trying to lay a very wide foundation as far as the motive for why he wanted to get rid of his wife. And
then going to page
It's taking forever.
35, this thread continuing. Do you see in the middle of that page, October 12th, 1998, 1:32 p.m., is he talking about a sexual encounter with his wife in these emails?
Yes.
And so it actually starts a little bit below there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, once again, he's referring to his penis when he says there wasn't a Boy Scout issue.
Yes.
All right, so he's describing this sexual encounter with his wife to you?
Yes.
All right, so moving on to page 38. You see
please
that's
just move on. Move on.
just a short email. You
Skip
to
several
him.
pages.
Mm-hmm.
What time should I return home? Do you see that?
Yes.
All right, and then following that up, page 39. The subject being Oak Brook, 10/12/98, 4:07 p.m. An email from you to the defendant, 18.7 miles door to door, and no one from the home office is going up to help them open the office. There you go. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so are you and the defendant continuing to plan this meetup surrounding the Oak Brook office opening?
It looks that way, yes.
All right, so now directing your attention to the next email string beginning on page 41. Starting with an email from him to you, October 15th, 1998, 10:26 a.m. And then do you see your reply right above that?
Yes.
Okay, so in your reply, I'm not going to have you read the whole thing, but in your reply, you see the word watching TV there?
Yes.
And you say thinking about computers and boyfriends?
Yes.
Okay, are you referencing how you communicate with the defendant?
Yes.
And then looking at the prior page, page 40, once again, are you continuing with the flirtatious emails?
Yes.
So this email at the top from the defendant to you, October 15th, 1998, 10:57 a.m. I do love you. Do you see that?
At the top of 40?
The second email from the top.
Yes.
And then your response, I do love you too, always.
Yes.
All right, so the next email string is a long email string, so I want to direct you to page 47.
Good grief. Here's what I think. I think we've got October 15th on here, and we're probably going to have emails almost every single day. We're getting about one per day, all the way up until when she dies. He's wearing earphones that help him hear what's happening in court a little bit better. They just amplifies
All right,
the sound.
so if you see this email string, does it start off with some quotes that had been sent like a kind of like a chain email?
Yes.
Yeah, Sandy, I think
so
she
right
sent a
above
few.
that on page 47,
and he sent a few.
It becomes just you communicating with the defendant, correct?
Yes.
All right, and so then on Friday, October 16th, 1998 at 9:21 a.m., he emails you, hey, want to run off somewhere? I do love you.
Yes.
Now they've got more on him than this, but this is just part of it.
All right, and how do you reply to that email?
What sparked this bold attempt at messing with me sounds wonderful. Where should we go?
And how does he reply to that?
Really bold attempt. If it was really bold, you'd have tickets for the WinStar in your hand. Doesn't take much to spark anything when it comes to you. What was that word again? Keep forgetting. You name it, you have the number, let me know. X.
All right, so do you know what he's referring to, tickets for the WinStar?
I think we had discussed that there was this cruise on the WinStar. It was a ship, and we had talked about how fun it would be to go.
So this is a cruise.
Yes.
Okay, and so then at the top of that page, what is your response to him?
Tickets in hand, huh? What a good time of year to go on one of these fabulous trips.
So you're asking
Not
him
sure if
what's
we'll
a
get
good time
crossed
to go?
today. At the rate they're going, it's going pretty slowly.
Yes.
And then his response on the next page above that?
Yeah, we can pull up the letter. Give
Yep,
me just one
with
second.
you any time of the year, but generally February to April when it's 0 here and 80 there.
Okay, let me bring down their
and then
audio.
what do you reply to that?
What's it like in October?
I'll bring them up, keep them on the screen here. Give me just a second to get it set up.
Don't know, would be fun to find out.
All right, and so what is your response then?
Considering you have a milestone birthday next year and we would both need some time to clean up our lives, so to speak, I was thinking what a lovely way to spend your birthday. You, me, sunsets, ocean, champagne, no outside issues.
Okay, so was the defendant turning
Here we go.
40 in October of 1999?
Yes.
So you're talking about a year from basically when these emails are happening?
Yes.
All right, and then in
Okay,
this
so we're gonna.
email,
They're still happening in the top window above us. That's real time. But I was gonna just cover just a little bit about the background. As AJ said, can you find and share the letter that's the basis
Getting
for this
divorced.
appeal? So let me turn them down just a tiny bit more.
Right.
Okay, so this is the letter that's the basis for this appeal. Mark was found guilty in the previous trial, and during that trial, evidence was admitted that was this specific evidence was a letter from his wife that was written just a week or two before she died, and she addressed it to the police department. She gave it to some friends of the family, and said, "If something happens to me, basically give this to the police," and they did. And this is what the letter said. It said, "I took this picture," and it has pictures of a list from his notebook. And I'm writing this on Saturday, 11/21/98. So this is almost 2 weeks before she died.
That would be.
This list was in my husband's business daily planner, not meant for me to see. I don't know what it means, but if anything happens to me, he would be my first suspect. Our relationship has deteriorated to the polite superficial. I think he's never forgiven me for that brief affair I had with that creep 7 years ago. Mark lives for work and the kids, and he's an avid surfer of the internet. Anyway, I do not smoke or drink. My mother was an alcoholic, so I limit my drinking to 1 or 2 a week. Mark wants me to drink more with him in the evenings. I don't. Excuse me. I would never take my life because of my kids. They are everything to me. I regularly take Tylenol and multivitamins, occasionally take OTC stuff for the colds, Zantac and Imodium, have a prescription for migraine tablets, which Mark uses more than I. I pray that I'm wrong and nothing happens, but I'm suspicious of Mark's suspicious behaviors for my early demise. However, I will not leave names or 2 kids. My life's greatest love, accomplishment, and my wish, my 3 Ds. Daddy, who's Mark, and the 2 kids, signed Julie Jensen. So this is the letter that was written that the Supreme Court on appeal, the appeal court heard and said that should not have been admitted. It was wrong because he was not able to cross-examine the witness. This letter was his wife. Well, the witness was dead because he, might have been involved in that. But that's the letter. That's why. That's why he's got this new trial, because the appeals court told the state that they have to either let him go, let him out of prison, or they have to retry him. So they said, "We'll retry him," and that's where we're at. So we should not be seeing that letter
I have until the end of the year to decide one way or the
in
other,
this trial.
And then in January, you can
And that's why earlier today, when the prosecution got very close to eliciting information about how Julie felt about Mark, there was an objection, and the judge rapidly sustained it. Said, "Don't go there." And they said, "We're not. We're just going to go here." And they're like, "No, you're too close to the line. Don't go there. Move on to something else." Because he's worried about as soon as that letter gets brought in, then it's going to be a mistrial type thing, or start over.
Yes.
The letter feels too convenient, says Ivan.
How does he respond?
Fair enough, but no deadline on deciding. Whatever time it needs to be figured out.
Okay, and how do you respond to that?
And do you have it all figured out?
What are you trying to find out?
If he's planning on leaving his wife, I think.
Man. She told family members
So
as
how
well.
does he respond to that?
I'm thinking so, barring seeing a bunch of disgusting habits I couldn't live with, but then you'd have a hard time topping the boys with all I've taught them. And if it just keeps getting better, some details to be worked out. But then those are just the details, not the big issue.
An issue is way off to the side here.
Yeah.
Okay, you respond.
It was the details I was wondering about. Disgusting habits, huh?
Okay, so you appear to be inquiring what he is going to do about his details, correct?
Yes.
And so the big issue being he's married.
Right.
And he's not giving you a response on what he's going to do.
Right.
So there's the motive.
Okay,
Please,
so then
are we
how does
done
he
now?
respond to that?
Murphy spins on details. Details are just noise in the bigger picture, and yep, disgusting.
Okay, and so now you continue to ask.
And you plan on dealing with the details how? What kind of disgusting?
He replies.
One at a time.
You reply.
Evasive little shit.
He wasn't answering your questions.
Right.
Okay, then what does he say to that?
Ooh, she went to lunch and came back nasty. Not trying to be evasive. What exactly are you looking for? We can talk about the details. Smile. You're cute when you smile. And other things.
You reply.
I didn't come back nasty. I'm usually like this. Okay, we'll discuss the details. I'm cute when I smile. Not trying to suck up, are you?
Okay, then he says.
Okay, you're cute when you try to burp.
And you say.
Nice way to avoid the subject. You're worse than me.
Okay, so your impression still is he's not answering your question.
So this is his girlfriend,
What he's gonna do
his
about
mistress,
his
ex-wife.
Okay, and so
They were both married
his
at this
reply
time
to that.
to other people.
Okay, ask me about a detail. I'm not avoiding. You're not asking. I'm supposed to guess the question. Okay, I'll be Karnak.
Okay, your reply.
You asked me if I wanted to run off with you somewhere. I'd love to, but there are issues we have to deal with. I'm not sure how I'll deal with my issue, thus the deadlines and agreements for any backing out that might be necessary. Do you know how you'll deal with your issues, details, whatever?
Okay. And so at this point in time, mid-October of 1998, you were not yet sure that you wanted to divorce your husband.
Right.
Okay. And so that's why you don't want to make a firm commitment at this time.
Right.
And you set a deadline for yourself and for the defendant of the end of the year.
Right.
Okay. And so what is his reply?
Are deadlines and agreement necessary? Not trying to pin anything down, and I got my ticket punched. Had that conversation, heard the answers. We're just hanging out for lack of one of us making a decision. Just need to decide what to do or make an announcement.
What did you understand him to be saying there?
It sounded like he had talked to his wife, and by him getting his ticket punched, that she probably said she wasn't in love with him anymore, and that they were just staying together for convenience at this point.
So you believe he's talking about his relationship with his wife?
Yes.
Okay, then your response?
Okay. Deadlines and agreements are necessary because I don't want to let you down.
His response?
Why?
Your response?
I do love you.
His response?
I do love you too.
Your response?
I know. Thank you.
And then finally, his response?
Don't forget.
Now moving up to the next page. Your response?
Never.
His response?
Let me down how?
Your response?
By getting our hopes up and then backing out.
His response?
Either way, it'll be an always thing. You have to do what's right for you. I'll just be hanging out. Do you realize that you never use the word now, even in past ease?
Do you know what he's talking about there?
I think we had an agreement that if I decided I was going to leave my husband, I would say now. And it would be like a code word or something.
And what he told you is that it's an always thing. He'll just be hanging out.
Yes.
Basically waiting for you to do what's right for you.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you say to that?
What would change if I did, and I really haven't had a need for it, now have I?
Okay, and then now some joke about you putting the word now in there.
Right.
All right, so here, your response to him at 1:13 p.m., what do you say?
Wondered if you catch it. Very good, but you haven't answered my question.
And how does he respond to that?
What would change? Some things. Still respectful of messing with your deal. Rather than thinking all about the fun stuff, start planning the fun stuff. Wouldn't be letting 3, 4, 6 weeks go by. Hasn't been a problem lately, though.
Seriously.
All right, so the next email would be on page 51.
The date's what's important here. What date is it sent at? Well, 10/19. Man.
And in that email from October 19th, do you see a reference to Dawn? How's
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Was that Dawn Cooper?
Yes.
Was she your friend?
Yes.
Where did she work?
She worked at Stiefel in the same office that I did.
Okay, so now moving on to the next email. This would be page 52. It's kind of hard to see the date. Are you able to read that, the date there?
So
Yes.
Sandy says she thinks
And
that
what is the date?
that Kelly was putting
On
pressure
the
on him
20th
to
of
act.
October?
I think I can see that in the emails
And
where
that's
she
for both
says,
of
"Hey,
them?
we set
Yes.
the date by the end of the year. You've got to take care of your issues."
All right, so in this email, are you essentially talking about your husband, Mark Greenman?
Yes. Yes.
CG, no, I think it was just a few
Okay, so
days
that's
before that
what
he really
most of the
started the
email's
poisoning.
about?
Yes.
All right, now at the end of the email, you say, looking forward to Friday, smiling and laughing will be good for me. Some time off from the tension, eh? Talk to you soon. I
This
do
is
love
worse
you.
than
Yes.
Twilight.
Okay. So this being October 20th of 1998, that Friday would be the Chicago trip, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Right. She's not
All
telling
right,
him
so
that
the
he
next
has to
string
do
of
something
emails
drastic.
directing your attention to page 54.
I think she, in her mind, she's thinking, "Hey, you've got to get a divorce if this is going to be a thing," which is funny because she has to do the same. "50 Shades of Meh." Gosh, that's
All right,
hilarious.
so you see that email from you. This would be the 19th of October. Subject, he called.
Yes.
Okay. So nice as can be, he's going to Denver the 12th of November, which probably put him in a good mood. So now he's getting over being upset with me. I'm not sure where to go from here. Who were you talking about?
My husband at the time.
Okay, so
And a
I'm
girl.
not sure
We
where
have
to go
both
from
extremes
here. What do you
here.
mean by that?
Probably just having mixed emotions about whether I want to stay with him or leave him.
And
This
he
is some
apparently
extra-
has a trip the 12th of November.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's rapid
Okay.
fire. 5 seconds from now, we
And
could
do you
be
see this
scrambling
email
for
from
the
the
mute
defendant
button.
to you, the reply, BC question mark, just a thought. Did you smile? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. BC, was he referring to Big Cedar?
Yes.
And then, once again, him emailing you, now October 25th, 5:02 p.m. So what do you think? Is that correct?
Yes.
They had to make their own
So
emojis.
you reply that you're thinking about it?
Yes.
And he replies, let me know. I'll see if I can get the HM cabin again. I want you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know what the reference to HM cabin was?
I'm not sure. I think it might have stood for honeymoon cabin.
All right, so now moving up that page, talking about days and the timing of it,
Right.
and then same on the beginning of the next page.
At least we're moving through some dates
Yes.
pretty quickly. When they're together, there's less emailing. So we jumped about a week ahead now. Still at the end of October.
All right, and then towards the top there of this page, he's talking about going fishing.
Yes.
This testimony is coming from the prosecution, CG. She is testifying for the state against him.
All right, so I want to direct your attention to another email thread. This is beginning on page 60.
The emoji game is weak. She started the affair before they got married.
So
and
actually, to
continued
see
it
the
through
beginning of that email,
apparently the
go
entire
to page
marriage.
59. Okay, so do you see this email from yourself to the defendant, October 20th, 1998?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, in this email, are you describing your husband and issues with your husband?
Yes.
All right, so now I want to direct your attention to the top of page 59.
You and me
All
both.
right, and to see the from for that email, you have to go to the bottom of the prior page.
Okay.
So do you see that email is from you?
Yes.
And then that's October 20th.
Cachette's got a rose
to the
emoji there.
defendant.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
and you say
looking
this
good.
is special, but I was talking about seeing the light with my husband and myself. You see
Yes.
that? Okay, so
Let's
did-
do that
at
without
this
without
time
getting
period,
some
did you
naughty
continue to be
ones. Let's
conflicted
see your
about
best,
whether to
most
remain with
creative
your husband or
emoji
not?
string from characters in chat. Cachette started us off with the rose.
All right, and then the defendant.
AJ, you've got the little
responds,
face, the winky face.
Just notice that you're still Labonte, oops, and Gree. I get it from Labonte, and it goes to Gree, and then M. Get your point? Do you see that?
No cross today.
So he was inquiring about whether you had changed
That's pretty
your
cool.
name.
On the emails, I believe.
Like that one.
Some of the emails say
DW.
Kelly Labani. Some of them say Kelly Greenman.
So, for instance, the email we were just looking at that says Kelly Greenman.
Yeah. Yes.
Trying to
Okay, and
catch
the
up
email
here.
above that, is that you explaining about that guy who had been emailing you?
I think so, yes.
There's some of these I've never seen. I've seen this one.
Yes.
The heart.
Mhm.
The fish. Bella, sorry. I've seen the fish one. S'mores, anyone? It's funny. I saw Bella's. She snuck it in there
Now,
and I
at the
accidentally
very
clicked on it.
end of that email, you make some reference to moving to a new town or getting another job.
Give me
Do
a
you see that?
calculator and I'll go to work.
Yes.
Just checking the date here. We're back to October 20th. Man,
All
we're
right,
back in
then
time.
you see the email from the defendant to yourself, the 11:33 a.m. email.
The Z's.
2 ideas,
You guys are pretty
smaller
creative.
Midwestern towns, and they don't include
Because I know you don't
Denver.
need to do these
Yes.
anymore, right? We've got emojis coming out our
You
ears.
say, how about
on pretty
Joplin,
much every
Missouri?
chat platform.
Yes.
Oh, the shrug.
He says, been there
The
at
famous
4 a.m.,
shrug.
Not much there. Nope.
Yes.
You say Springfield, Illinois.
Yes.
He says, nope. How about Ken/RAC? Do you see that?
Yes.
What did he mean by that?
Kenosha Racine.
Mangy Coyotes using the calculator
You say
already.
never heard of it.
Yes.
Oh, Chandra, this just converted
He
to
says, see, no one
to
would
something
ever find
else.
you.
I didn't see
Yes.
what it was, but it just flipped right as soon as you typed it. AJ is on fire.
Your
She's got some
reply,
good ones.
good point. Hope you could, though.
Yes.
Then he
1998
says, wouldn't
was
be a
off the
problem
chain.
even in the dark.
Yes.
Yes, the ANSI characters. You had to press the Alt key and then some number pad keys to get an upside down question
All right,
mark.
so then-
Not aging myself.
Going to the next email thread.
I think you can still do that.
This would begin on page 62.
This is the limit of my emojis too. Smiley face and frowny face. I'm never sure what the winky face means. Here's one I haven't seen, Ed. It shows up differently on your screen than mine.
All right, so for this email, Tuesday, October 20th, 1998.
It looks better in chat than it
9:42
does
a.m.
on my highlighted.
The subject you see is short blue cocktail dresses.
Mm,
Is that
yes.
correct?
Yes.
All right, and so you are suggesting to the defendant about bringing a short blue cocktail dress?
I don't know if that's what we're talking about. I don't know exactly what the headline's about.
But in terms of the text of that first email, you say, maybe I'll bring the green one too, and you can decide which I should wear?
Possibly, yes.
It may have something to do with a short blue cocktail dress.
Okay, and then his response, how could I possibly decide that? Okay, wear both. Would the green one be the one that he said makes you look like a working girl? Is that correct?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Homer Simpson. That's a
So
good one.
again, this being October 20th of 1998,
Wingdings,
you're
my
planning
favorite-
your
my
meetup
favorite
with him in
font.
Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this email thread,
Mark's been
starting-
drawing on my screen.
looking at page 62,
With some of these,
and then
yeah.
going into page 61, this is you talking about what you're going to bring to wear, right?
Yes.
And then more of the flirtatious banter between
Yes.
both of you?
Yes.
Okay. Leading up to the weekend.
Yes.
Sunshine, do you have an iPhone?
All right, so the next email thread beginning on page 66.
Generally, if you press and hold the dollar symbol, it'll give you options if you have an iPhone for the cent symbol. Not sure on the Android.
All right,
I'd
so
have to ask my
now
kids.
if we look at this email from the defendant to you, and this is Sunday, October 25th, 1998, 5:31 p.m. Do you see that email?
Yes.
Okay. So now, if you're thinking about the timeline of things, this would be the end of the weekend that you were in Chicago together, correct?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so the email reads, so I have this question. Remember, don't tell me what I want. So what do you really think? Do you see that? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and then your response?
What do I think about what?
Okay, and what does he say in response to that?
Remember what don't tell me was in relation to? Just wondering if you had given that any more thought, if it would be an issue, if you'd be okay with it, if whatever. Thought I'd toss it up in the air and see what came back down. Wasn't that the crush conversation in Columbus? That was at a time when I wasn't at this point with this.
Okay. Now, to see the to from part, you got to go to the previous page. But the next email is from you, now under the name Kelly Greeman, to the defendant, and then what do you say in your reply?
Kara,
I
these
think
are
it would
pretty
be a piece of cake and a joy taking on all three of you.
Okay, so what is this email thread about?
In a previous phone conversation, there had been a comment made about how I wouldn't want to be with somebody with two kids. And I said, don't tell me what I would or wouldn't want, something to that effect.
And so this is the follow-up to that conversation.
Yes.
This is the longest Tinder conversation
And
ever.
based on your response, you were telling him that you'd be receptive to that. It would be a
Yes.
piece of cake and a joy.
Yes.
Now, I think that information will come out after the first cross, where they try to make her look really bad. The state's going to come back and say, did you raise his kids? And she's going to say yes.
Okay, and then his response to that, that got me laughing. Piece of cake and a joy,
See you,
taking
Ann.
on all three.
Hopefully it'll be faster
I can
tomorrow, a
see
little
that.
better.
I think you'd be able to handle 3 or 4, as the case may be. Got pics from Doug and Robin of the new edition. Think that you'd be good for them too.
Never, Chandra. It goes on for
So
eternity.
is the defendant once again referencing his friends, Doug and Robin?
Yes.
And he says something about a new edition. Do you know what he's talking about there?
Cachette, you might get to your wish
Not
here.
specifically.
The judge has done
They
a
may
little
have just had
yelling
their
already.
baby.
Okay, and you know that they did have a baby?
Yes.
And was it around this general time period, if you know?
I can't remember if it was right around then or if
Hey,
it was
that's
earlier.
awesome.
So then looking at your
Congratulations
response
on
above,
6 years. Georgia, you didn't miss anything.
Then yes,
You could have
it-
taken
it
another
must have been
5
the
and you
baby.
still would be fine.
Okay, so you say don't want to take on Doug, Robin, and the baby too, though.
Right.
Okay, so that would be Doug and Robin's baby.
Yes.
The judge has basically given the prosecution an open door, saying you can bring this up with everybody. So we'll see where this goes.
Now, a little bit further up in this email chain, you have an email to the defendant on October 26, 1998, 10:33 a.m. So you're kind of talking about yourself not feeling really well, feeling funky today?
Yeah.
All right. And then in this email, you reference yesterday was weird with Mark.
Yes.
Okay, so once again, you're talking to the defendant about the person who is your current husband, Mark Freeman.
Yes.
Yes, I don't think we're going to stick for the whole thing.
And you're just relating your frustration.
We have the Murdaugh trial starting next
Yes.
week on Monday. We'll see you, Red Pen. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow. I don't think any of these have attachments. I think we're good. There have been a couple jokes that they've been sending, and they've been just a text version of the joke, just a placeholder. So I think we're safe on the photos.
Okay, so then if you just look at through the rest of this email chain, are you just continuing to talk to the defendant about the issues with your husband?
Yes.
Is she laughing?
All right, so moving to the next email chain beginning on page 67.
Good grief. That was a sandwich. Coyote, it was not bad. It was not awful. Both flavors
so you see
were
these
fantastic.
lower
It's
emails
just
on
it
this
didn't
page
blend
67.
the way I
They're
thought
the
they would.
repeats
I'll
of
have
the
to try it
prior
again.
emails about don't tell me what to do. You see that?
Yes.
So that's about taking on him and the kids, essentially?
Right.
Okay, so this top email, October 26, 1998, 11:11 p.m. What does he tell you in this top email?
That he likes my answer, that it would be a piece of cake. Or did you want me to read it?
Yes, why don't you read his whole response?
We kind of got off on a tangent there, so wanted to come back to this. I like that answer. Taking on could be the appropriate verbiage. I do love you.
Okay. So he's going back to the prior emails saying you got off on a tangent.
Yes.
But he likes your answer.
Yes.
I will say that the Sarah Boone docket has been updated. We were supposed to have the pretrial hearing, the pretrial conference. That has now been moved to March 28th. So we have a pretrial conference on March 28th. The hearing, which was going to be trial that started on the 30th, has been canceled, and that has now started on April 10th. The court minutes from today for Sarah Boone show that parties to coordinate a date for status hearing with judicial assistant, defense attorney to schedule conference with defendant. So Mr. Bankiewicz still has to meet with Sarah Boone. The defense motion to continue was granted, and we're pushed out till the end of March and April.
About sending me money for the phone.
That's where we stand.
So that's what you testified to earlier, that the cell phone bill was getting high?
Yes.
So back in 1998,
It was a per minute charge.
So if you talked more on the phone, you were getting charged more.
Yes.
And for you, because you talked to him so much, the bills were getting big.
Yes.
All right, and so your response to that is basically you're too good sometimes?
Yes.
All right, and then his reply, we didn't guess it's my deal with this, like opening a door for a GF, how and why. I was just sitting there, and there she was, and the more I talked to her, the better it got. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, what is GF?
Girlfriend?
Welcome, Michelle. It was really Tina
right, so now
Pruitt that we
looking
have to
at the
thank for all the
next
information this
email,
morning.
page
She
70.
was there in the courtroom and called in, gave us updates on the burner phone, and then called in and gave us an update right after it happened. So before any of the documents were updated, it was wonderful to have her give us that information from the inside.
About your email changing.
Well, this says, do you get things in the mail that are addressed?
Oh, okay, so you think it's the actual mail?
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the Welsh case and see what's happening.
And
I know
then
they've
your
got an arrest
response
warrant
is,
out.
yes, it's very
They've
weird,
arrested
but
him, I
getting used
guess.
to it.
They're
Yes.
charging him for the murder.
name change.
If they don't have the body yet,
And his
at
response
least they've got the
is,
murder
does
weapons,
Levante
right?
still work?
Or at least
I'll change the
tools,
name.
implements used in the murder or the
see that?
cover-up.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
your
nights
response
and
is
weekends
for
were
what?
free, right,
Mail,
AJ?
yes. Email, no. Anything else? Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, man, CG, that's a bummer. I hope you get feeling better. We're thoughts and prayers to you for sure.
Now looking at the next email string beginning on page 72. All right, so looking at these emails, is this a continuation
We'll see,
of
Abe.
the,
Thanks for stopping in.
online shopping?
Hopefully
at
tomorrow we'll
Patagonia?
catch up with you again. Thanks. Page 72. What's the date? Still at the end of October. Hold the door open, says Mac. I'm
that
headed
correct?
out too.
Yeah, looks like that, yes.
The day's been long. I think we're about to wrap for the day, maybe in the next half hour.
All right, and so then along those lines on that topic, the defendant says to you on October 26, 1998 at 12:22 p.m., understand, I know, but hey, I'm having fun, no strings, well, maybe just one.
Yeah, we've
for
got plenty of
whoever,
time, Marie.
and
This
that
is
would only
super
be
boring.
being there. Think I could warm you up?
I don't think there's anyone here
Remember I
that's
said
just
I'd give you
riveted
anything?
to every word.
If you can't try to spoil your GF a little, what the hell?
Let's
do
talk
love
about
you.
metal detector features.
Yes.
What questions do you have?
So once again, he refers
Marie?
to you as his girlfriend.
Yes.
Let me fix the chat so you can speak a little more often. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go. It's a little faster.
All right, and then just looking at the prior page of emails, does that continue some flirtatious comments?
Yes.
Marie, where do you want to go metal detecting? Like in the beach, in the water, in dry land, in the rain, fields, playgrounds, everything?
All right, so now turning to page 75.
The more you want, the more expensive it gets. Ivan, 14-year-old is a great age to get into detecting.
So once again, we're on the Patagonia.
Heidi says, I don't care about this trial, but there's nothing else good on. Okay, so fields.
And it appears this email from you
Heavy
to the
Woods.
defendant, 10/26/98, 12:07 p.m. You're essentially picking out an item.
Jim Bob,
Yes.
I wish I could show you.
For $119.
I just had a company send me a metal detector
And then you talk about
for
how you
free
looked at it, asking for
just last week, and they want me to do a review on it. I took it out and started emailing it, or I started testing it. Sorry, I read email right as I said that. I read Ivan's email. I took it out and started testing it, and it is junk. It's garbage. It does pretty good about detecting just rare, iron. So having some metal around, we've got that. But if you tell it to turn off the iron, we use discrimination and only pick up coins, it can't find anything. You can pass a coin right underneath the coil and it doesn't find it. Basically, the only detectors I would really refer somebody to that really do the work they're promised to are some of the big brand name detectors, and they are more expensive, but they actually work. They do what they say. I mean, I've got a detector now that I can go over a coin. I can tell you exactly the value of the coin 8 inches down without digging it up. I can, there's one that I've been able to hear that I went over a Target once with a buddy of mine, and I said, it sounds like down there's a bottle cap and a quarter. And I dug it up, and it was a quarter stuffed into a bottle cap. It's that precise. But unfortunately, the cost really gets up there pretty high up. We're talking almost to $1,000. But entry-level machines, you might want to look at Nocto Macro Simplex. It's a good machine with a lot of features for the price. It's waterproof. It's very sturdy.
Liaison with the hotel to make sure
Pretty good that way.
the meeting rooms.
My first machine, if it was not waterproof, that I did really well with, found my first rings that way, was a Technetics Patriot, which I think is around the $250 to $300 range, which I probably wouldn't go any lower than that starting the hobby. Not because the machines don't work, but
Yes.
I mean, you can get cheaper machines than that, but they're not reliable below that point. Also, brand names, stick with the main ones. Nocta Macro is one of the newer machines, but MindLab, XP, Garrett.
All right, so do you see
who else do I own?
Email in the middle of the page from the defendant to you, October 27th, 1998.
Technetics is good.
3:19 p.m.
Fisher's
what
out of
does the
business now, I
defendant say to
think. Or no,
Family,
Weitz is out of
or at
business.
least
Fisher
needed.
and
Yep, real good
Technetics
is
are almost the
great.
same.
There is no real perfect, and real good can be real easy.
If
for
anyone
us. That's what
has
I
more
remember.
information, has more questions about it, shoot me
And
an
then
email.
how do you respond to
if you go to
him
my
I said, have you talked to her about
my
it
channel
yet, or
page.
are you just going to bang her over the head, drag her out to the car, and tell her she's going to have a good time? Remember the caveman days?
Starting to get interesting there. Just
All right, and do you
go to my
know what
channel
this is
page
in
and
reference
click on the email, and you can send me an email there, and I'll respond and help you out.
I think it was when he was going to take his family on like a little trip, maybe a weekend getaway, and I don't think she wanted to go, but he was going to try to get her to go.
All right, so that's what he was telling you about what was going on?
I think so.
And to be clear, you've never talked to Julie Jensen?
No.
I won't advertise something I don't like.
All right, finally.
Finally.
Last email string.
Oh my goodness, did you hear that? Guys, Heavenly Choir's just sang, I hear harps. I hear harps. Last email
So
string.
this will begin on page 80.
My goodness. Okay, we're almost done. I do like Technetics. They're a little cheaper. You don't get all the features. You don't get the waterproof for the Patriot. You don't get waterproof. You don't have wireless headphones. And I really didn't realize how much I'd like
So
wireless
this is an
headphones
email
until I got
from
them.
yourself to the defendant, October 27th, 1998, 10:16 a.m. And I'm going to ask you to read the entirety of this email.
Oh, my goodness.
He said he was up all night frustrated and mad because I have shut myself off from him these last 3 or so weeks. He asked me if there was someone else, if I still wanted to be married, and what was going on with me. At 5:30 a.m. in half a voice, I was hardly in any shape to battle with him, but I did realize I need to give this a fair shot or get the hell out. I've decided to give it a fair shot first. A 6-year relationship that I have fought tooth and nail for, and a 1-month marriage deserves at least one bold effort.
1 month.
Anyway, I would very much like your support on this. Your friendship means so much to me, maybe too much for the sake of my marriage. Obviously, BC is out for now. Maybe someday when the cards are working for us, we can do that together. 1, I don't feel right about going right now, and 2, I have a lot to do, and those few days to myself would be a great help. I know things have been funky, but he did notice that I've been funky too and suspected one of the issues. For my own peace of mind, I need to focus on the positives of this marriage and see what happens. So let me know your thoughts on this, please. I do love you, always, really.
Okay, so what were you telling the defendant with this email?
That I was going to focus on working on my marriage.
And so that was your decision on October 27th of 1998?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in here, you made some reference. Obviously, BC is out for now.
CG, is it an iPhone or an Android?
Yes.
And how your husband was going to be gone November 12th?
Right.
So now your plan was to not go somewhere with the defendant during that time period?
Correct.
So were you actually able to in any way rehabilitate your marriage?
Not really. I mean, maybe for a few days, but it didn't really take.
So this commitment that you are expressing in this October 27th email.
If you're able to open it in an app on a computer, like
2-3 weeks maybe,
a Google type app or something,
and so
you should be able to print it from a
we stayed together
computer.
through Christmas.
Like I can open my messages from an iPhone on a laptop, and I can print everything that way.
It was obvious it wasn't working.
By what time were you out of not living in the same home as your husband?
I moved out sometime in January
99?
of 99, yes.
Seriously, a few days. That's the effort.
Between this email and January of 99, did you continuously communicate with the defendant?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to give your marriage an effort, maybe cutting off communication with your side piece
looking at his reply,
is the first thing you should do.
October 27th, 1998. Hey, fair enough. You never did say now. My support, you've always got that, Kelly. Only concern I have is for the funky and you being okay. But not going there now. Whatever happens, I really hope that you're that happy little camper. I do love you always. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and can you read your response back to him?
As long as I have your friendship and support, I'll be fine, because I know if the funky gets out of hand, you'll be there for me. I hope we can still enjoy our fun emails and talks. You just need to bring it down a notch, if you know what I mean. Wanted to comment on something you said yesterday about my eyes. It's a control thing for me. I feel myself enjoying myself with you and being happy, and then I start falling, realize it, catch myself, and pull back. It's a protection thing only in the sense that the timing for falling isn't quite right, if you get my drift. Happy little camper, cute phrase.
Yeah.
All right, and then his response to you is, wow, you've got the friends and support thing. I'll be there one way or another. See, a Dear John letter of sorts. Just kidding. We can bring it down a notch. Have wondered at times over the last month what was going to happen with your situation. Just last night, mentioned quitting Stiefel before doing anything. Things were real funky. It was either going to hit the wall or there was going to be a decision to regroup, so to speak, and see if it was going to work. Makes sense. Like I said a while back, I could see how this was going to play out. Denver, etc., wouldn't it be ironic if the bottom doesn't fall out of the box and the woman nosedives, or the bottom does fall, or the bottom does and the woman gets fixed? Or just think of all the permutations and understand the eye thing if the falling is what I think it is.
I don't.
Was that accurate?
Yes.
It was pretty accurate, yeah.
And you respond to him?
I'm sure the falling is what you think. We always seem to be on the same page when it's us involved. Have faith, Mark. It'll all come together eventually. What's the wow for?
And then his response to you is, yep, I think we are on the same page with the eyes. I'm a little confused. What will
Wow,
come
toxic.
together eventually? This,
That would
or
be big.
wherever the pieces happen to fall. The wow was for, I hope we can still enjoy our fun emails and talks. You just seem to be questioning the friends part. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So, again, to be clear, that email didn't actually end your relationship with the defendant.
Correct.
So these emails that you've looked at in this exhibit,
Sorry.
Do they accurately reflect the emails that were sent?
I'm sorry, I have to
yourself and
comment on that.
defendant?
Yes.
So I would move that into evidence. I believe it's Exhibit 21.
21? All right, it'd be subject to cross.
So she puts a good
Are you
faith
done?
effort back into her marriage, her 1 month long marriage,
I'm not pushing, I was just asking.
Okay, I am done with that exhibit.
and
Thank you.
does that for a couple days. At the same time, she steps back from her relationship with Mark, probably also for a couple days.
Now, I just have a few follow-up questions on what we learned from the emails.
This might get spicy.
So during that Chicago trip that was around October 23rd of 1998, do you recall going to Morton's Steakhouse?
I don't recall it, but that sounds like something we would do.
Okay, so you don't recall going to that specific restaurant?
Correct.
Okay. What about Adler Planetarium?
No, I don't think I've been to the planetarium.
As far as the reading of the Comatose Robot,
Now,
I think if she puts too much
if you
emotion into
recall
it,
the
she can actually get in
email,
trouble.
Where you called
that's
the defendant evasive.
inserting,
did the defendant ever
feelings that may not
specifically
be
say what he was going to do about his
proper.
marriage?
No.
I don't know what happened in Denver, Ivan. Apparently they had a meet up there.
All right, so I want to direct your attention to the Blueprint Conference. Okay. So you were at that conference and you were at the hotel, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the Friday evening of that conference, was there a big dinner?
Yes.
And is that for the brokers?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you do after the dinner?
After the dinner, some of the brokers, there was a bar there at the hotel, and some of the brokers went there, and that's where I was, and other employees. And so we went there and hung out for a while, listened to the music.
Okay, and while you were there, are you describing like a bar area?
Yes.
Okay, and so were people drinking at the bar?
Yes.
Was the defendant there?
Was it? Yes.
Okay, and during this time period, so this would be the weekend of November 7th, is this the time period where you were still trying to get back together with your husband or repair that relationship?
Yes.
Okay, was your husband with you?
Yes.
And was he also in the bar area?
He was in the bar area, yes.
Was he with you the whole time at the bar?
No, he sat kind of separate from the other group, so I'd go back and forth. I'd go sit and talk to him, and then I'd go and talk to the group.
And the group that you're referring to, that included the defendant?
Yes.
Now, how
is
would
not
you
cross yet.
describe
This
your
is still direct.
behavior with the defendant?
But now she's asking.
Friendly, flirty, but low key.
She's moved on from the emails.
I guess that's how I would describe it.
Okay, so still flirty with him?
Yeah.
Now, during this time period when people were in this bar area, you mentioned you and the defendant. Do you remember any other people who were there?
I know Don Cooper was there and Ed Klug, and I think there were a few others, but I don't recall who they were.
Okay, and so while you were talking, everyone in that particular group was talking. Do you recall any conversations being brought up about penises?
No.
Are you saying that did
0 to
not
60.
happen, or that you don't recall?
I don't recall.
Now, between yourself and the defendant, had you had conversations about penises?
Probably.
All right, so before we get to those questions related to that, I just want to continue with that night at the bar. At that evening, do you recall when you would have left the bar area?
I don't recall exactly when, but I do believe I was one of the first ones to go.
Okay, so your recollection is when you left the bar area, the other people you've named were there?
Yes.
And did you leave the bar area with your husband?
Yes.
And did you go up to your room?
Yes.
So as far as what happened after that, you couldn't tell us?
That is correct.
This is a COVID protection high-speed drifter.
Okay, so during the course, let's talk about the early times during your relationship with the defendant.
Okay.
Yeah, it just stopped. Not sure why. We can switch to a different feed, but it will just come back
During
here in a
the
second.
course, let's talk about the early times during your relationship with the defendant.
Okay.
During those early few months, let's say September, October, after the sexual relationship has started, did the defendant ever question you about prior sexual partners?
We discussed them, and he would ask questions. They were fairly high level. I can't give you any examples. I just know that it was always here and there, but every now and again, yeah, there would be questions.
I would do
and conversations about it.
Okay, and
I
so
did these ones.
He expressed wanting to know about prior sexual experiences you had had.
Yes.
Okay, even at that time in your relationship.
Yes.
Okay, now when you were having those discussions, did you ever bring up
Yes,
an individual who worked in Colorado?
I believe so. Yes.
And who was that person?
His name is Jock Joseph.
Did you actually have sex with that person?
No, not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, but had you seen him naked?
Yes.
And had he been trying to have sex with you?
Yes.
And did the defendant ask you about his penis, this man's penis?
I believe so, yes.
And when you referred to these discussions being high level, can you describe what you mean about these initial discussions?
They would just be, just kind of a one question at a time kind of thing. We'd be having a conversation maybe about the fact that, I'd gone out with this guy, and yes, we had sex, and then there would be a question about it, and then we'd move on. And then later he'd come back to it and ask another question about it. And so it wasn't, it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. It was just kind of a weird question in the middle of a conversation.
And so that was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the years progressed in your relationship, did that change?
Yes.
Okay.
These discussions were a little below mid-level.
Before we move on to that, I just want to clarify the time frame of this encounter you would have had with John Jock Joseph. Do you recall what that time frame would have been?
I know it was the branch managers meeting, so it was probably about a year prior to the branch managers meeting that we were having in '98, so probably sometime in '97.
Okay. Okay, so then as time progressed in terms of your relationship with the defendant, so I'm talking now 1999, 2000, 2001, did he begin asking you extremely detailed questions about your prior sexual partners?
Yes.
And Did he specifically ask for each of your partners about their penises?
Yes.
And did he ask you to describe their penises in detail?
Yes.
Would that include things like length,
Yes.
width?
Yes.
Okay, guys, as excited as this is getting, I'm going to wrap it up.
And then would he also ask you in detail about sexual encounters?
I've got things to
that
do
you
tonight
had with the prior
that
partners?
don't include listening
Yes.
to all this conversation. I'll let you catch me up with the good parts, not this part. Later, it keeps getting worse. Oh my goodness. Yeah, people. This is weird. This is psycho. This is not the murder trial I thought it was going to be. I've got a dinner to go to, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to go out on a date with Mrs. R.A. So I'm going to not have anything to talk about all day long about my day because of the conversation that happened here. Anyway,
So I've showed you what has been marked
gonna
as
run.
State's Exhibit.
Yes, for
number
sure.
22.
Rapid as isn't great. There's no phrase I can use that doesn't throw me under the bus, Vixen. It's bad.
handwriting is it?
All right,
It's the defendant's
we're
mark.
gonna see each other in the morning. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna kill their audio just for a minute. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been crazy. It will get better. Let me run to A here. Go back to where I belong. There we go. I was in the wrong corner. Have a good night. There's some stuff's breaking. I think there's a verdict in the Florida case. We've got some arrests happening and charges in some other cases. We might have to pick up the family triple murder and just try to catch up with that because this case is just bizarre. It goes so slow and so fast, and the fast is all the wrong direction. So we're going to say good night for tonight. Thank you all so much. I think we did get demonetized right at the very beginning of this live stream, so that happened. One more reason to find a different trial to follow. Thank you, everybody. It's been awesome. I need my music, which was right here. Have a great rest of the day. Be careful with the emails. Yeah, be careful what you write to anyone in email. It will probably end up in court. Run for the door, everybody. I'll hold it. Turn the lights out. Last person does. Thank you, Fractured, for taking care of the internet tonight. Keep it running. You did a great job today. Hug the people you love tonight. Please smile at somebody. Make that day just a little bit better. We'll see you tomorrow. Please stay safe. Until then, everybody get healthy. We'll have some more action in the morning. Thanks a lot. We'll see you.